good morning to Abhishek Janjanwala, former IPL star who is alongside me to watch this game. And Abhishek, a happy new year to you. Lovely to see you.
A very happy new year, Henry, and a very happy new year to all the audience who are listening to us. Yeah, it's been a bit of a turnaround for the Thunders, but if you talk about the Renegades, it's just been downhill since their first game when they won the first one. And as you said, that's been the story for the Renegades for quite a while in the BBL now. We often see them lurking at the bottom of the table, but hopefully things will turn for them. With the new year, with the new game, they're playing on the 1st of January. There's no better way to start your year, is it?
Exactly. Turn over the new leaf of the new year and see if they can get a victory. Let's go through the Renegades side then. They are top heavy, I think it's fair to say. Aaron Finch is the captain and is alongside Sean Marsh, two players with plenty of Australian international pedigree. Then Sam Harper, Riley Rousseau, the former South African international, Mohamed Nabi, Mackenzie Harvey, Imad Wasim, Will Sutherland, Kane Richardson and Peter Hatzoglu. Mitchell Perry is the one change coming in for Zach Evans. Their X-Factor substitutions are Bo Webster and Jack Prestwich, so a bowling option in Webster and a bit of a batting option in Prestwich. And the Sydney Thunder, meanwhile, have Usman Khawaja, Alex Hales at the top of the order. Hales fresh from that quick-fire 71 in the previous game. What an innings that was against the Melbourne Stars in a winning cause. Callum Ferguson is the captain. He scored 50 last time out. Oliver Davis, this young batsman who made a real statement with 5 sixes in consecutive deliveries a couple of games ago. Sam Billings, out of quarantine, playing his second match, keeps wicket. Daniel Sams, Ben Cutting, Chris Green, Nathan McAndrew comes into the side for Adam Milne, Chris Tremaine and Tanveer Sangha. The X-Factor substitutes for Alex Ross and Brendan Doggett are for the Thunder, Alex Ross and Brendan Doggett. And so we will wait and see come the 10th over of the first innings whether either side decides to make a change to their lineup. Out to the middle come the two openers. The red seats around this ground, Carrara ground, they're largely empty, but there's a fair few coming into the ground all the time. It's getting fuller and fuller. Maybe, late nights last night for New Year's, just even though it is the evening, of course, it is, a slow and steady day, New Year's Day, isn't it? And, people might just be easing back into normality and enjoying just taking their time to get to the ground. There's a fair few in, but we'll expect more to join them in due course. Aaron Finch will take the strike first up. And what a career he's had in Big Bash League cricket, averaging close to 40. He's hit a couple of hundreds in there as well. And having played close to 70 matches, Abhishek, alongside Sean Marsh, there is such expectation and pressure on these two.
Well, there'll always be a lot of expectation and pressure because these are the two big guns of the side. The team is heavily dependent on how they bat, how they give the team a good start or not. And if you talk about the Renegades middle order, that's been pretty poor this year. There's hardly any scores if you go through Sam Harper, you go through Nabi, and if you talk about Riley Rousseau, they managed to get one good score, but apart from that, it's been pretty much single-digit figures. So they need to turn things around with the middle order, but a lot will depend how these two start.
Yeah, you just feel that the weight of expectation on this top partnership is such that they really do need to do something. Daniel Sams, left arm over to start things off for the Sydney Thunder, to bowl to the right-handed Finch, who's just happy to watch that ball go by. And cricket from overseas, shall I say, cricket in 2021 is underway here on 5 Live Sports Extra.
Absolutely, and good start by Daniel Sams, and what a performer he has been so far for the Thunders. Both with bat and ball, he's picked up wickets, he's scored some very important runs lower down the order. And at the moment, a lot depends on Aaron Finch, the Australian captain in white ball cricket. And if he gets going, it's going to be hard work for the bowlers.
Here comes Sams again. Finch is on strike, and he gets bat and ball this time, but didn't get particularly convincing in his stance as that ball cut into him and an inside edge onto the body and then dropping down to that one slip. Usman Khawaja, who's waiting and mic'd up, we can see, and he dived to his right to prevent the ball running down to the third man boundary. But another dot ball. This is a decent start, hostile from Daniel Sams, who's proved what a valuable all-rounder he can be for the Sydney Thunder already this campaign.
Yeah, absolutely, and also we saw a bit of movement off the pitch. Anything which comes into Aaron Finch, he always gets into a tangle. He loves playing outside the off stump.
He's down the track to create a little bit of room for himself. Whips the ball into the leg side. There's going to be work to do for the fielder. Sprinting round, Davis with that mane of bushy dark hair comes round, picks up, and the innings is up and running. 2 without loss midway through the first over, and Aaron Finch has both of those runs. A very good morning to George, who gets in touch and says Happy New Year to all at Test Match Special. Happy New Year to you as well, George. Lovely to have you with us, and we'll look forward to bringing you so much cricket, all being well, across 2021. Aaron Finch batting a long way out of his crease. He's waiting for Sams and driving through the offside. It sort of finds a little bit of the outside of the bat more than he probably would have wanted. Goes a bit squarer than he was looking, but he gets a single. It is 3 without loss. 2 balls left of the first over.
Yeah, as you mentioned, standing quite ahead of his crease. You do it a lot of times to negate the swing. Sometimes when the bowler is bowling a very good length, you try and get him off the length, try and get the ball to be a bit fuller to you so that you can just play those shots on the rise. But often works. At the moment, Sean Marsh, what a player he has been over the years for Australia in the IPL, in the Big Bash. This year also a couple of 50s, but in the middle, in the 3 matches he couldn't get going, but in the last match he's played a lovely hand of 67.
Marsh on strike again, pushing forward into the offside it goes, and they'll run through for a quick run. The other thing about this partnership is they're used to batting together. They know all about how each other plays, and so they can get these quick singles early on with confidence and knowing that they can trust the other person. Marsh so far in the tournament averaging just under 30 with that high score of 67. Finch meanwhile across the 4 innings prior to today, an average of just over 26 and a high score of 39. These are the 2, no question, that Renegades fans will look at and think this is where our hopes and our power comes from. Finch on strike, and there's a cry of catch. It's spooned up in the air. It's going to just clear that fielder at square leg inside the circle. It's Cutting who was closest to it, and it wasn't overly convincing, but he gets away with it. Finch, end of the over, 5 without loss.
I just want to see if that ball flew that far off his pads, because that ball landed outside the 30-yard circle over the square leg fielder. So if it's off the pad, he's wearing a very good pad there, Aaron Finch.
Well, I wonder, because it seemed to just sort of loop up and spoon up in the air, didn't it? And as we see a replay on our monitors now, well, we're getting the whole over, so we'll hopefully see that final delivery. And what we are seeing actually is just how far out of his crease Aaron Finch is batting. He's a mile out. Keeper standing back though, 0 risk. Clearly is just more comfortable negating any of that early swing that you're going to see with this white Kookaburra ball. Chris Tremaine is going to bowl the second over. Dark hair, just a little greying at the temples. And he stands alongside Alex Hales and now has a look at the England teammate and then charges in. Right arm over, Finch hitting the ball in the air, down the ground. That's a lovely, lovely hit. Has he got enough on it for 6? Just about, yeah. You could hear it off the bat. It was like a rifle shot. 6 from Finch. Welcome to the game, Chris Tremaine. 11 without loss.
He said Happy New Year to Chris Tremaine there with the 6th first ball. Dancing down the track and hitting it way over that mid-on fielder. As you mentioned, just landed outside that skirting. But a great start, very good intent shown by Aaron Finch here. He means business.
Sure does. 10 from 6. Tremaine into him again, and he's whipping the ball into the leg side. We'll get at least a couple. There's work to do for the fielder in the deep, who does pretty well in a relay as it's hurled in by Ferguson. And another run becomes 2, and it's 13 without loss, with Finch having scored 12 of them. And the problem that bowlers have, Abhishek, is with where he's batting, Finch, is length deliveries become slot deliveries.
Absolutely, and probably that's the reason he's batting so far outside his crease.
Tremaine moving into bowl to Finch, who's beaten for pace, and it flies through over the shoulder and goes into the gloves of Sam Billings. No run.
Yeah, I thought for a second I thought the umpire was going to raise his hand and signal it as wide, but it was too close to Aaron Finch's body, just trying to surprise him with that quick bouncer there. Tremaine, the first couple of deliveries going for 8, where Aaron Finch stepped out, a little shimmy down the track in the first 2 deliveries. But at the moment, Renegades are looking good. After 1.3 overs, 13. Aaron Finch looking good on 12.
Yeah, he's playing nicely. Australian white ball skipper, of course. Packed field inside the circle on the offside as Tremaine comes into Finch. He's getting again in a little bit of a tangle as he tries to work the ball behind square on the leg side. It's been either very convincing or utterly unconvincing from Finch so far. Interesting stat for you, Abhishek, in terms of 6 hitting in the tournament. The Sydney Thunder are top of the pile. They've hit 46s in the competition. The Renegades just 12.
Yeah.
And 9 less than the nearest team above them. So that's a worry, isn't it?
Absolutely, that's the worry, and that's probably the reason why the middle orders haven't. You can tell that the middle orders haven't fired so far. It's just the top order who has scored the majority of the runs.
Finch on strike and down the track. It's gone in the air. Again, he's looking behind square on the leg side. It's gone very fine and down to the boundary for 4. He advanced and for a moment looked around to see, well, where's that gone? It's flown off a top edge and down to the rope. So already 12 off the over with the ball left of it, and Finch once more advancing and getting the reward for showing commitment to the stroke. 4 more for the Melbourne Renegades, and as they head towards the end of this second over, 17 without loss. It's a very decent return. Finch has all but 1 of them. He's on strike again, and this time into the leg side with a little more ease and calmness, if you like, and a single to conclude the over. So he'll keep the strike. Sean Marsh has just faced the 1 delivery so far. Finch has 17. It is 18 without loss after 2 overs. It's Big Bash League cricket on 5 Live Sports Extra. We've got so much cricket for you over the course of well, I'm trying to think, next 12 months, but I'm going to extend it to 13 months because we've got the Ashes in Australia on 5 Live Sports Extra next winter, which is just so exciting. And in between times, there's a huge summer of cricket to look forward to as well, with India due over and the launch of the 100 competition too. International cricket, domestic cricket, so much to enjoy across the BBC, and we can't wait to bring it to you. At the moment, our attention is firmly fixed on this clash between the Renegades and the Thunder to kick off 2021. And Finch is on strike as McAndrew into the side today is going to bowl his first over, and a tall figure runs in. It's whipped away by Finch down towards fine leg, fielded by Tremaine, and 1 run is taken. So Sean Marsh will get the strike for just the 2nd time in the innings, 19 without loss.
Yeah, he's just faced 1 delivery out of 13 deliveries so far. Sean Marsh, he'll be eager to hit some balls, but at the moment Aaron Finch is doing everything what the Renegades need. 18 of 12, and with the ploy they're trying to bowl to Aaron Finch with 2 fielders outside the 30-yard circle, both on the onside. They don't have any opportunity to bowl the ball outside the off stump, and when as a batsman you know which line the bowler is going to bowl, it becomes a bit easier for you to preempt what deliveries are coming towards you. It's always difficult for the bowler.
Marsh on strike as McAndrew bowls a quick delivery, which sees Marsh looking to launch over deep mid-wicket, but an inside edge down to deep backward square will only see him pick up a single. 20 without loss. The key thing for the Renegades, you feel here, is get to the end of the first initial power play overs, the first 4, with this partnership intact.
Yeah, absolutely. And once they can bat 4 overs without losing a wicket, things will become a bit more easier. The fielders will be out. There will be 5 fielders outside the circle. Easy to rotate strike, to get those 1s and 2s and the odd boundaries.
McAndrew bowling to Finch has gone miles in the air. There should be a fielder to get underneath it. Keeper underneath it. The catch is taken. And this partnership doesn't last. Aaron Finch goes 18 from 13. McAndrew strikes his 3rd ball. Well, we said that he hasn't necessarily timed everything, that 1 big 6, but Finch hasn't looked all that comfortable out there. And in the end, a very easy job for Sam Billings, and a first wicket falls.
Yeah, again, a very ordinary shot and very smart bowling by McAndrew. Just followed him into his body. Wasn't too short. He tried to go for that short arm jab again. Aaron Finch and top edged it. easy catch for the keeper. But again, the story remains the same. Aaron Finch has got a start in every match so far in this year's BBL, but yet he's not scored a single 50. So his scores for the year has been 39, 20, 12, 35 and 18 today. And that shows that though he has got a start, but he hasn't managed to capitalize on those starts yet.
He goes, 20 for 1 is the score, and he'll be really frustrated with that, because it wasn't, you know, it wasn't one where he had to hit it. There wasn't really that much pressure. He could have nudged it away for a single, but
absolutely,
yeah, the pressure just heaped on the side by the loss of that early wicket. Marsh will be on strike with the batsman having crossed, and he drives through the offside murderously and picks up a boundary to deep cover. Lovely shot from Marsh, and he moves the score to 24 for 1.
That's a lovely shot. Again, that was a ball which was bowled in the slot. All he had to do is get the ball in the gap, and that's exactly what he did. Lovely looking shot through the covers and picking up an easy boundary. That'll get him going. He was looking for a boundary to get going, to get some momentum.
It was just in that slot outside off stump, wasn't it? Marsh waiting, driving again through the offside. He's going to repeat the trick and pick up 4 more. A similar looking shot, equally well played, and Marsh has 10 from 4 and has taken up the mantle of the senior batsman, just trying to ensure that the Renegades, though they've lost the big wicket of Finch, don't lose any momentum at the start of this innings. 28 for 1.
Pretty much the same delivery and the same result again. It seems like you're watching a replay of the first shot, but well played again by Marsh. That'll put some pressure back on the bowling side. A bit of momentum for the Renegades again.
Marsh whacking the ball straight this time. It's collected by the fielder. In fact, the bowler runs around and picks up and does well to prevent it even allowing a single. So 28 for 1 after the first 3 overs. We've seen the loss of Aaron Finch for 18, but a couple of boundaries for the bat of Sean Marsh will give a little bit of encouragement to Renegade supporters that he could be in some decent touch. He's been their leading run scorer in the tournament so far, with 146 runs in the 5 games prior to today, and he was in really good form ahead of the Test series against India. Western Australia batsman, he scored 300s across 6 innings and then 88 in there as well. And Sheffield Shield cricket, there was a real clamour for people saying, well, we've got no openers. You know, all this talk of injuries and David Warner unavailable, why don't we just give him the chance? But he hasn't passed that opportunity, and so he finds himself in the coloured clothing of Big Bash League cricket. Here comes Green into the attack, bowled very nicely last time out, and sees Harper picking up a single to mid-on, his first delivery. Green, it's a year since he found himself having to step away from bowling because of reports of a suspect action. He's remodelled that action and seems to be bowling better than ever, which is really good to see.
Okay, he's been in good form so far, Green, and he's been quite consistent. He's been very economical as well for the Thunders.
Green, 93 on his back, picked up 4 for 34 against the Stars 3 days ago, and he's moving into the left-handed Marsh. Outside edge, flies towards third man. Tremaine will sprint to pick up and slides just in front of the boundary, but they'll get through for a couple. And the score advances 31 for 1.
A hint of spin. He wanted to play it towards the onside, got a top edge. Sean Marsh very lucky that didn't pop up, but lucky to get a couple of runs as well. Very well bowled by Green again. He's always keeping the pressure on the batsman. Bowls pretty flat, doesn't give any room to the batsman to throw their arms around and play those big shots against him. You've got to take a chance if you want to go big against somebody like Green.
Well, there is now a slip in the form of Khawaja as Green bowls round the wicket to Marsh. A little straighter this time, and Marsh can just clip the ball into the leg side and pick up 1. So 32 for 1 with Harper on strike. Harper right-handed, wicketkeeper batsman, and mainstay of this Renegades side in recent times. Part of their winning side a couple of years ago. Victorian on strike as Green comes into him, and a cry of catch, but it's all along the ground and worked in towards cutting at mid-on. And one more is taken, 33 for 1. We hear Sam Billings on the stump microphone saying, this is class from you, Greeno. And it has been a good start from Green.
Yeah, it's been a good start so far. It's just gone for 5. And I'm also looking forward to see Tanveer Sangha, who's been another very promising youngster in BBL. Very good leg spinner.
Marsh working the ball into the leg side, again a cry of catch. But again, all along the ground. A little bit of hesitation as Sangha throws in. There was never 2 there, but they thought about it. And so 6 from the over so far with the ball left of it. Green all in the lime green of the Sydney Thunder and wearing some shocking blue boots.
Yeah, doesn't go with the whole outfit, does it?
No, it's not a good look. Green bowling to Harper, deep in the crease, and we'll get 1. Maybe push for the 2nd, and no, there isn't going to be any opportunity for that. Cutting throws in, and 7 from the over. 5 singles and a 2 in there, and 35 for 1 after 4. That's the initial power play done, Abhishek. We've got this 4 over power play and then the power surge option after the 10th over where you can take your extra 2 power play overs. So a decentish return. 1 wicket down is, disappointing that it's Aaron Finch, but 1 wicket down isn't disastrous.
You would always take it, and probably that's the plan always, to not lose more than a couple of wickets in the power play, and that I'm talking about 6 over power play. But here, because it's a 4 over power play, you wouldn't want to lose anything more than 1. And so far they would be happy the way they have batted, with 35 on board, going at around 9 and over. If they can capitalize on this and build up a partnership here, then you give the likes of Rosso and Harvey a platform.
Tremaine bowling to Harper, who's swinging hard into the leg side. Might pick up 4, he will. It's a really good shot from Sam Harper. He advanced and whipped it away for a boundary. 39 for 1.
Again, an ordinary delivery. Bowling is short on the leg side. All he had to do is put some bat on ball, and there was a fine leg fielder, but he was pretty fine. It was easy picking for Harper. He'll be happy with that. With the first ball over, goes for a boundary. It's all pressure on the bowler, and Tremaine has been pretty expensive so far. He's gone for 17 already, and it's just bowled 7 deliveries so far.
39 for 1. Tremaine moving into bowl to Harper, who's trying to play the little scoop over the shoulder. It flies through to Sam Billings.
This is what I don't agree with, and I don't never understand. You just pick up a boundary, be smart about it, get a single, get the senior partner back on strike, and he just tried to be cheeky, tried to look cool rather than trying to be productive in the middle. And if he lost his wicket there, as a captain, you would be furious, and as a coach.
It seemed unnecessary.
Absolutely unnecessary, especially after you picked up a boundary in the first delivery.
Harper waiting and swinging into the air. Cries of catch. Can a fielder get there? Should get there, and does. Davis with the safe hands. Down on the fine leg boundary, and Harper goes. He tried to repeat that shot where he pulled it round the corner. Gets it all wrong. Top edge, flies to the fielder. 39 for 2.
Yeah, again, a very soft dismissal. Again, not getting over the ball, just getting cramped for room to play that pull shot. An easy catch for Davis. But that's what I meant, Henry. If he has taken a single in the previous delivery and not try and be cheeky and play that ram shot, he could be on the other end. And Sean Marsh would be facing this delivery. And we've often seen in cricket, these things happen. When you do something silly, not pick up a single, and very next ball you play a shot and you get out. There's a lot to think for Harper, because he hasn't had a very good tournament so far. Apart from that 166 he's got, it's all been single digits.
Yeah, 39 for 2 as Harper departs, and with just, what's his name, 7. It's a disappointing return. I think it's a New Year's resolution we can all take from you, Abhishek, that be productive, stop trying to look cool. It's something I need to do, certainly.
I think you're pretty productive, Henry.
Just not very cool.
We'll always take productive over cool, won't we?
How diplomatic. Riley Rousseau is going to join the action in the middle. Left-hander. He's on strike, is he? No, it's Marsh on strike. 2 left-handers in the middle, but Marsh is the senior of them and faces that 4th delivery of the 5th over, works it round the corner, gets a single. He moves on to 40. He's going at a good rate as well. 14 from 8, 39 for 2, 40 for 2, I should say. Marsh has 14 of them, and Riley Rousseau, who earlier on in the tournament has scored his career best BBL score of 59. He's got an average of 24. It's sort of one really... It's often the way in this Renegade side, isn't it? One good innings and just a real struggle for consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw that with Harper. He's got a 66 and then it's been 5, 1, 8 and 7. So they got to find a way to score runs in the middle. The middle order needs to click if they want to do well in this competition, and they've been lacking it so far.
Russo working the ball behind square. Nicely struck, but straight to the hands of the fielder, Sanger in the deep. And it is just the one run, but he's up and running. Riley Russo and Sean Marsh will face the final ball of the 5th over, after which we will be joined by Stefan Schemmelt for the first time today. And as we see a replay of the 2 dismissals that have come, both skied in the air, both sort of ugly shots, sort of miserable dismissals really.
And both unnecessary as well.
Marsh on strike. Nicely struck from Marsh. Whacked into the leg side for a single out to Daniel Sams in front of a packed stand over on that side of the ground. Lots of supporters in. 5 overs gone though. 42 for 2 is the score. It is a very happy new year to Stefan Schemmelt. Stefan, we'll speak to you in just a moment, but Abhishek Janjanwala, a few thoughts from you after the first 5 overs.
5 overs, I think Thunders would definitely be the happier side. They've managed to pick up 2 important wickets, and one of which is of Aaron Finch. If he gets going, you know you're in trouble, but they've managed to get the big wicket already. But it all depends on how Sean Marsh takes this innings from here, because if he gets out now, again, you can see Renegades will be in deep trouble. So it's very important that he plays a long hand here. Stefan?
It's a new year, but more of the same from Sydney Thunder and Melbourne Renegades in varying reasons. Chris Green with his off breaks. Sean Marsh backs off and smashes this one out to extra cover. Much needed for the Renegades. Powerful stroke from Marsh, who gave himself some room outside the leg stump. And he's hammered it to the extra cover fence.
Yeah, it's a lovely looking shot. Just giving himself a bit of room outside that leg stump. There was a deep cover, but still managed to play that over that short cover fielder. Lovely shot from Sean Marsh. He's looking in great touch again.
Green at his mark, just compose himself. He creeps in now. This is a bit shorter. Marsh goes back onto his stumps, forces this one up to long on. Be a single taken. The Renegades move on to 47 for 2. Marsh has 19 from 11. Riley Russo 1 from 1. Heard you, Abhishek, saying that Chris Green's blue boots do not quite go with his lime green Sydney Thunder kit. But I know you're a man who likes a coloured boot, Abhishek.
I did, but I had a blue boot when I had a blue kit as well.
Rousseau, powerful left-hander, just dances a little bit as Chris Green creeps in, but plays this carefully into the offside. Good running from Sean Marsh to get through for a single as 3 lime green kits converge on the ball. 48 for 2. So you're telling me that you were you kept on message, Abhishek?
I did. But I think it's more of a superstition for Green here.
Number 93, Green in green. Oh, that's a good off break. That's a turn. Sean Marsh befuddled slightly, playing with a straight bat, but it's beaten the outside edge. Even Sam Billings, the wicketkeeper, couldn't gather it cleanly.
A lovely delivery. Hint of turn. We've seen that earlier in the innings as well, that a few deliveries did turn. It surprised Sean Marsh a little bit. He didn't expect the ball to turn from that length. It's always a good sign when there's a bit of turn for the bowlers.
Green bowls. Marsh clips this one off his hip towards deep square leg. Ollie Davis, the field, has been chastised by Sam Billings, the wicketkeeper, but Davis can't pick the ball up cleanly. They come back for 2. 50 for 2, the Renegades. Marsh 22 from 14. So much resting on his experienced shoulders for the struggling Renegades.
Oh, absolutely. And we saw the inexperience from Sam Harper when he got that boundary, and then next ball, rather than trying to take a single, he tried to play a scoop, and the next delivery he got out. So it's always, once you hit a boundary, try and get a single, try and go to the other end, let the other guy do the rest.
Final ball, the over, short from Green. Powerful pull shot from Marsh for 6. While the boundary fielder out at deep mid-wicket was about 10 yards in from the rope. Not that that mattered, it sailed an extra 7 or 8 yards past the boundary, and it's nestled on the concrete steps of the stand. 6 from Sean Marsh to finish the over. The Renegades move up to 56 for 2 after 6 overs, and Sean Marsh is just starting to tick. He has 28 from 15. Riley Rousseau 2 from 2.
Yeah, he's looking good. He's looking really good. Very good shot again. Picked the length early from green, rocked back onto the back foot. Had plenty of time to play that shot over that deep mid-wicket fielder, but still timed it beautifully. Sean Marsh is looking good, and when he gets going, he looks so pretty. He's such a good-looking batsman. You feel like watching him.
It's going to be spin from both ends. Young leg spinner Tanveer Sangha coming into the attack. He took 4 for 14 against the Renegades on Boxing Day, the big Thunder victory.
Yeah, he's been a revelation in this tournament, a young leg spinner. It's always exciting to see leg spinners coming from wherever they are. But at the moment, Australian cricket looking good with him and Zampa. He's impressed all in this competition so far, Stefan.
Scurries in, does Sangha. Sweep from Rousseau, the left-hander, out towards deep backwards square leg. 57 for 2. You say Australian cricket is looking good, Abhishek. From an Indian point of view, did it look too good in the Boxing Day Test match?
Oh, absolutely. That's what I meant.
Sangha's got 17 on his back. This is a shorter delivery to Marsh, who plays it a sort of pat on the head up towards long on. 58 for 2, the Renegades.
I think where Australian cricket is struggling is with the batting more than the bowling. If you talk about their batting, they've hardly got any runs. They've got all out under 200 3 times in 4 innings in the India series so far.
Sangha, full delivery, slog sweep from Rousseau in the air and taken at deep mid-wicket by Chris Green. It's a huge boundary out there in Carrara. And Rousseau, he nailed that. Excellent timing. It had been 6 on plenty of grounds. But instead he could only find Chris Green, who was backpedalling towards the rope. And the Renegades lose their 3rd wicket. Tanveer Sangha, the leg spinner, strikes in his first over. Melbourne Renegades are 58 for 3.
Yeah, again, Rousseau losing his wickets pretty early in the innings. And that's what I don't understand. When you've got a senior partner who's batting so well, who's on 29 of 16, he's rotating the strike, getting the boundaries when required. Rousseau could have taken a bit more time. He hasn't had a great tournament so far. He's only got a 50 in this year's competition, and since then it's just been 10, 15, those kind of scores. So here he had a great opportunity to play the waiting game, give himself a bit more time, get some ball into the middle of his bat, but again going for that extravagant shot and losing his wicket. And Sangha picking up yet another wicket in this year's competition. Every time he has come to bowl, he's picked up wickets, and he's hardly gone for any runs either.
Well, Riley Rousseau goes for 3. And Mohammad Nabi, the Afghanistan all-rounder, on his 36th birthday, arrives at the crease. He's at the non-striker's end with number 7 on his back, his red sleeves rolled up. He's another one wearing blue boots.
I think they've been given blue boots, both teams.
And Sangha, with 1 for 2 from 3 deliveries, is bowling to Sean Marsh, who has 29 from 16 balls. That's a googly from Sangha. I'm not sure Marsh has picked it. Inside edge towards short fine leg. They take 1, 59 for 3. I'll ask you more about coloured boots in a moment, Abhishek. I want to delve deeper into this subject. Mohammad Nabi is just taking strike. 3 games so far in this year's BBL. He's got a highest score of 18, so you'd expect more from the former Afghanistan captain.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of the top all-rounders around the world, and you would expect a lot more from him in the middle order because the team is heavily dependent on how he bats in the middle order.
Nabi's first ball goes onto the back foot, carefully plays it into the offside. There's no run. It's actually ranked as the number 1 all-rounder in the T20 format by the ICC. Sangha to complete the over, and Nabi, forward defence, textbook, not the sort of stroke you expect to see in T20 cricket, but one born out of necessity, with the Renegades having lost 3 wickets on the completion of 7 overs. They're 59 for 3. Sean Marsh has 30 from 17 balls. Nabi yet to score on the Gold Coast. Quietish, still evening on the Gold Coast on this New Year's Day. There's a smattering of fans inside the ground. making some noise, but you wouldn't say the atmosphere was electric.
Yeah, it's difficult to get crowd in on the 1st of January, isn't it? Most people probably had a long night. They just want to take it easy, relax a little bit. Probably we might see a few more people coming in as the game progresses, but so far it's been pretty quiet, as you mentioned. But again, I would like to go back to Tanveer here, Stefan. He's been phenomenal in this year's competition, and yet again today is picking up a wicket in the very first over. What I like about the spinner is that he doesn't really bowl darts. He still look to turn the ball.
Daniel Sams back into the attack, the left arm pacer. It's wide of Marsh's off stump. I think he started with a slower ball there, Sams, and Marsh gets nothing but fresh air. Yeah, on the subject of Tanveer Sangha, it was actually his brother, Jason, who made the first real impact from the family. Jason Sangha got 100 as an 18-year-old against the touring England team.
Wow.
Playing for a Cricket Australia 11 on the last Ashes tour. So cricketing family, the Sanghas. Jason, a very correct batsman, and Tanveer with his leg breaks. Daniel Sams again, number 60. Marsh has fetched this one off stump, through mid-wicket. It's actually gone through the dive of a fielder who think he may well have done a little bit better. It was Tanveer Sangha in the ring. Couple taken, 61 for 3. But on the subject of coloured boots, Abhishek.
Yep.
Presumably, at any point in a cricketer's life, in his kit bag are just white boots. So at what point do you think, you know what, I'm going to change this up? Coloured boots for me. Here comes Daniel Sams with a black towel in the back of his lime green trousers. Marsh pulls powerfully out towards long leg. It'll just be a single, so the score moves on to 62 for 3.
I think, yeah, you've got to be very confident and you've got to be an absolute gun to wear colour boots.
And that is you, Abhishek, an absolute gun. Did you ever dabble in coloured anything else? Batting gloves, maybe?
I think I did wear coloured gloves. I wore blue gloves. Yeah, I remember doing that.
Because that's a step up from a coloured boot.
Oh, 100%. 100%. So they say you fake it till you make it. Probably that's what I was trying to do.
The powerful Sams bowls to Nabi. That's a brilliant delivery. That's pitched on leg stump, and I think it's just a little bit of an off-cutter from Sams that's gone across the right-hander, beaten Nabi's outside edge. 3-dot balls so far for Mohamed Nabi, just feeling his way. Coloured bats were all the rage in the Big Bash League a couple of years ago. Remember the bat wraps?
Oh my God, yes. I was not a huge fan of that, to be honest, Stefan. Were you?
Well, I'm not an absolute gun, Abhishek, so I don't think I could even dabble in a coloured boot.
But yeah, those bats I was not very big fan of.
Sams hurries into Nabi. That's a bouncer that Nabi ducks underneath. So Nabi's hunt for his first run continues. He's faced 4 deliveries now. The Renegades 62 for 3, with 1 delivery of the 8th over remaining. For some reason, the Addams Family theme tune is popular at Australian cricket grounds. You can hear that in the background now. Night fallen, and on the Gold Coast, the floodlights taken full effect. Daniel Sams is casting or being chased by his shadow as he pumps his arms towards Mohamed Nabi. It's another slower ball that Nabi turns straight to the man at short mid-wicket. So Nabi has now gone 5 deliveries without scoring.
He's building a lot of pressure, not just on himself, on Sean Marsh as well, because what it does now is puts a lot of pressure on Sean Marsh to score runs and score them quickly. And how often have we seen when a player of Sean Marsh's caliber or anybody else who's batting there, who's been there, who's on 38, that he will start thinking that we're not getting any runs from the other end, so it's my duty to try and get some quick runs. And often we have seen them losing their wickets in trying to do so. So hopefully Nabi will get going. He'll start hitting the ball out of the middle and picking up some runs here. Otherwise it's going to be tough on Sean Marsh and on Nabi as well, because if they lose another wicket here, Renegades will be in deep trouble.
62 for 3. Tanveer Sangha is second over. Marsh slog sweeping down the ground aerially for a maximum. Well, there's a cry of catch from behind the stumps, but the long on fielder is wide. This went very straight, and regardless, it went long into the first row of seating. Sean Marsh with his second 6. He's on to 39 from 21. 68 for 3, the Renegades. the veteran opener almost playing a lone hand at the moment.
Absolutely, and that'll take a lot of pressure off him and hopefully Nabi as well. They need a few boundary, they need to rotate strike as well.
He belts the ground with his bat, Sean Marsh. This one's wide of off stump from Sanger, no timing from Marsh, up to mid-off for a single.
Yeah, again, tossing the ball. I love watching him. He always gives the ball a bit of air. There's a bit of dip as well.
17, Tanvir Sanger. This is quicker outside off stump. Marsh cuts and gets nothing into the white gloves of Sam Billings. The Renegades, having been asked to bat by Sydney Thunder, they've lost Finch for 18, Harper for 7, Rousseau for 3. Sanger again. This is drilled just over the short mid-wicket fielder, a pull shot. 2 fielders out on the leg side fence. The long on and the deep mid-wicket have work to do. It's a huge boundary out there. They come back for 2. Marsh has 41. The Renegades are 70 for 3.
Yeah, nearly got his fingertips to it. Was just over the field.
Again, it's a cry of catch as Marsh chips down the ground. But it's 6 more. Well, that didn't look to have the legs at all. It looked like it may have been 1 or 2 bounces and into the boundary. But Sean Marsh, just with a little pitching wedge, has chipped the ball over the long on fence. And as we said, the fielder is wide. It's a low-risk shot from Marsh. Second 6 of the over. The Renegades on to 76 for 3. And Marsh has 47 from 25.
Yeah, that was minimum effort, but yet getting the maximum result of it. As you mentioned, when he hit that ball, it looked like he just trying to chip it past the fielder, but still managed to get enough timing on it.
14 from the over. Last ball. Marsh goes back, tries to cut, but it's gone straight to the man at points. So much needed momentum for the Melbourne Renegades from the 9th over. They're 76 for 3. Marsh 47 from 26. Nabi yet to score. It's Big Bash commentary on BBC Radio 5 Live Sports section of the BBC Sport website and the BBC Sounds app. The Melbourne Renegades, bottom of the table with only 1 win from their 5 games, having been asked to bat by the Sydney Thunder, who are second, just 1 point behind the Sydney Sixers. And the Renegades, having been 3 wickets down for 58, are just picking up some momentum through the shape of Sean Marsh. It's going to be Nathan McAndrew back into the attack for the 10th over.
Yeah, it's been all Sean Marsh so far for the Renegades. 47 of 26. Played some wonderful shots.
McAndrew to Nabi. It's a bouncer down the leg side. Nabi looks at the hook shot, gets nothing on it, and Nabi remains runless after 6 deliveries. Sean Marsh is 37 now, but he's been in brilliant form. Even though the Renegades are struggling, out of 5 innings so far, he's had knocks of 62 and 67, and that's on the back of 300s in the Sheffield Shield in November.
And that's what T20 cricket is all about. If you're an experienced campaigner, if you've played this format for a period of time.
McAndrew bowls to Nabi, who still can't get off the mark with an angle to the point fielder.
Yeah, again, going back to my point, he's such an experienced campaigner. He's been there, he's done that over the years. He's done it for Australia, he's done for multiple franchise in the IPL, for the Big Bash League as well. So whenever they talk about being young, it's young man's game, T20, I disagree with it, because experience, you cannot substitute experience with youth. Yes, at some times you can, but you'll always need these experienced players to get you going.
McAndrew to Nabi, who's hit on the pad, so his hunt for a run continues. 8 deliveries without getting off the mark now, the former Afghanistan captain.
And he's fit, he's looking very fit, and I think the priority should always be your fitness. As long as you're fit and as you're doing the job, age shouldn't be a concern at all for any team or any format, I think.
Talk about Sean Marsh's experience and his age.
Yeah.
It's a lovely story knocking around before this game as Nabi waits for McAndrew and finally is off the mark. Cheers from the crowd on the Gold Coast as Nabi angles one past point for a single. Renegades 78 for 3, 9 deliveries for Nabi to get off the mark. Yeah, Oliver Davis, who's playing for the Sydney Thunder this evening, he's 20 years old, and he said his hero was Sean Marsh, and 8 years ago when he was 12 he went to watch Marsh play for Western Australia and got a picture with him. And when these two sides played on Boxing Day, they reenacted that same photo. McAndrew to Sean Marsh, an appeal for LBW. I think that's hit Marsh outside the line of leg stump. Sam Billings, the wicketkeeper's got his arms and legs outstretched, begging for the decision, but I think that was missing the leg stump. Leg bye taken, 78 for 3 rather, one delivery, the 10th over remaining. So a lovely moment for Oliver Davies to have met Sean Marsh, his hero, when he was a 12-year-old, and now to be playing against him in the Big Bash League. Yeah,
it's a great story, and yeah, it just shows that if you keep yourself fit and if you're hungry for the game, you can go on for a long time. And probably that's the reason Sean Marsh is still playing cricket. And he's 37, as we spoke about. He's looking fit, he's looking hungry, still scoring most runs for Renegades.
McAndrew to complete the over. Nabi on the back foot, slashing through point out towards the aforementioned magnificently haired Oliver Davies, who does the fielding at backward point. Renegades 79 for 3 after 10. Abhishek, you're going to take a break, but just a thought about the LBW decision, because seeing the replay, I actually think that was a little bit closer than I first thought.
Yeah, because it was on the full, the ball didn't bounce. It's always a close call, but as we know, they can't go to the third umpire. That's not happening in the BBL this year, so probably the bowlers don't have the chance. Once the umpire gives his decision, that's the final decision, and you got to stick to it.
Thank you, Abhishek. Abhishek's going to take a short break, and Henry Moran's going to come in alongside me. 10 overs completed of this Melbourne Renegades innings. Sean Marsh, who was the subject of that LBW appeal, 47 off 27. Nabi has 2 from 10. We're halfway through. The players are just taking a drink. It's live commentary of the Big Bash League on BBC Radio 5 Live, Sports Extra, the BBC Sport website, and the BBC Sounds app. Tomorrow, at the later time of 9:15 in the morning, you can hear Brisbane Heat versus Sydney Sixers. Don't forget that on Wednesday night we'll have full commentary of the third test between Australia and India. That starts at 11:30 Wednesday night. And any time over the next few days, you can download the TMS Preview of 2021 podcast. That's Jonathan Agnew and the team looking ahead to all the cricket in the new year. And it's a very happy new year to Henry Moran.
Hello to you, Stefan. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Henry.
Always a joy to speak to you. Always a pleasure to be on air with you.
How did you bring in the new year?
Very quietly. You know, I mean, I think just with a deference to what has been a challenging 2020, and you know, listening to a few fireworks going off outside, that sort of thing, all very quiet. And not much to be said, really. What about you?
I know what you mean about challenging. You should see the state of my fantasy football team. That's the thing I'm worried about most.
Oh no!
As we enter 2021.
Well, I'm not. You know, I can. You see, I like fantasy football for the first 2 weeks, and then I lose interest. I have one bad week, and then I give up. That's the problem. And you know, while I completely see the sort of the way it continues intrigue and interest, I've never been able to get into it enough. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. That we've had 10 overs. It doesn't seem to. You can't always tell in these Big Bash games. Doesn't seem to be any X factor substitutes.
Not that I can tell. Here comes Cutting then, bowling to Nabi, inside edge. He'll get his third run. 80 for 3. That's something they need to work on, I think, Steph, is the way that they announce one way or the other whether there's an X factor substitute.
Much has been made of these innovations for this season of the Big Bash League. To be honest, they were pretty widely derided when they were first announced.
Absolutely.
But on the whole, I think of the 3, certainly 2 of them, the Bash Boost Point and the Surge, have added a layer of intrigue.
And as a wise man once said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Marsh on strike on the cusp of a 50. Oh, down the leg side, there's an appeal from Sam Billings, who's convinced there's a little tickle on the ball. The umpire's not interested, and he must be fairly certain, the umpire, that there was something on it, otherwise he would have signalled a wide. But that something, he seems to think, is pad as opposed to bat.
It was pad, round about the knee of Sean Marsh. But on the X Factor substitute, I just wonder why it has to be taken after 10 overs of the first innings. Wouldn't it be fascinating if you could use that substitute at any point? Imagine bringing on a sub when there's 8 to win in the last over of the game.
Marsh on 47, and that 47, has he managed to convert it into a 50? Yes, he will beat Alex Hales in the deep, and to bring up a half century in a fine way as well. Driven a little aerially at first down the ground, but with real conviction and enough power as well to beat Alex Hales. And it is a half century to Sean Marsh from just 29 deliveries, 84 for 3. I know what you're saying, but I get the reasoning why it's after 10 overs of the first innings, because at that point you haven't had someone that's either batted or bowled likely more than 1 over, which is the stipulation. Cutting, bowling to Marsh, who's up on his toes into the leg side for 1, out to Chris Green in the deep, and he'll be off strike with a score at 85 for 3.
Well, I'd say, why do you need that stipulation? As long as the player that you're replacing hasn't, say, bowled their full overs or hasn't been dismissed, then why not have that substitute at any point during the match? I just think that would add more intrigue and more scope for innovation. Yeah,
I can see that. Nabby swinging hard, it's gone in the air, but it's sort of clothed and dropping well short of Hales in the deep. And Nabby, who's had a fairly stodgy start, 4 from 12, moves the Renegades to 86 for 3 with the ball left of the 11th over. I can see what you're saying. There's a sort of argument for, you know, the drama, I guess, of a late substitution. Oh, they're sending in X, Y or Z. But I think the other thing is that because squads are so carefully put together, more in just a moment, Cutting, moving into Bolton Marsh, and again a meaty drive into the covers, which is well stopped by Ferguson, the skipper, and single is taken. So Marsh on to 53 after 11 overs. 87 for 3 is the Renegades score. And I think the key point is that at no point during this tournament have I looked at the X Factor substitutes and thought, well, that is somebody that really gets the heart racing. Do you know what I mean? And that somebody I think, wow, they could really completely transform a game if they came on in this circumstance. It tends to be players that could do a job here or there. It's not really, you know, if maybe the X Factor substitution was one extra overseas player that you could only bowl for a certain amount of time in a game or something like that.
I think that's more of a reflection on the depth of these Big Bash squads. Imagine if you could have the X Factor sub in the IPL.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Tremaine into his 3rd over. He's picked up 1 for 19 thus far, and Marsh is eager to get his total heading towards the 60s. He'll pick up a couple there if he's quick, and he's quick enough. He's on to 55 with a little tickle square on the leg side. 89 for 3. And that would be really interesting if you could suddenly see a situation where, I don't know, a Lockie Ferguson gets brought in because, you know, final over, they need someone to bowl rockets. Something like that would be fascinating. 89 for 3. Tremaine moving into bowl. Right arm over to Marsh. Good sound again off the bat. Worked into the leg side, a little bit straighter. And Green in those distinctive blue boots will field. 90 for 3, and will bring Nabby onto strike.
It's like Benjamin Button, isn't he, Sean Marsh? Like I said, 37 years of age. Churned out runs in the Sheffield Shield. Now he's got his 3rd half century this Big Bash campaign. There was even talk of him being in the conversation to have a recall to the Australia Test side when they were struggling for an opener.
Yeah, well, we were saying earlier, yeah, and you know, numbers-wise, he was the in-form batsman in Sheffield Shield cricket. Certainly, Nabby, right-handed on strike, is looking to try and work the ball around the corner, but a wide is signalled by the umpire because it's just slightly erring in line. Billings behind the stumps puts his hands on his head in a sort of mock astonishment that wouldn't be out of place on the stage of your local pantomime. But it is a wide. 91 for 3.
Yeah, Marsh hasn't played for Australia since the 2019 World Cup. He's got 126 caps across all 3 formats.
Nabby on strike, open stance as Tremaine is into him. And again, it's just a little bit awkwardly played by Nabby, who has to be slightly sharper in his running to get home at the non-striker's end, but does so as Billings throws at the stumps. And the score advances 92 for 3, and he, you know, had a big say in the Ashes in Australia in 2017-18. Well, of course.
There are a couple of things I didn't know about him until I was doing some research for these Big Bash commentaries.
Marsh on 56, more in just a moment from Stefan as Tremaine is into bowl. It's short and clubbed into the leg side. There is protection in the deep in the form of Green, who'll throw in, and it is just the 1 run, so 94 for 3.
Yeah, we all know about the cricketing Marsh family. You know, his dad Jeff and his brother Mitchell. There's also a sister, Melissa, who played professional basketball.
Oh, is that right?
And Sean Marsh also played some league cricket in central Lancashire for Woolston back in 2004.
Nabby on strike, swinging, missing. And though Billings doesn't collect cleanly, there's not time to get through for another run. 93 for 3.
What an overseas signing that must have been. Even if at that point Marsh hadn't made his mark. Oh, we've signed Jeff Marsh's son.
But then, there comes the pressure of the name, I suppose, as well, in Lancashire League cricket.
Don't want to alarm you, Henry, but I think there's a bit of rain falling.
Nabby on strike as Tremaine bowls to him. It's in the air. Oh, it's a brilliant shot for 6. How's he managed to get that there? He seemed completely off balance, in all sorts of awkwardness in his position, but he somehow managed to time it perfectly behind square for 6 on the leg side. It's a full toss. It had to be put away, but he's done brilliantly to play it as he has. 6 runs to Nabby, an innovative shot, and the Renegades 99 for 3.
Yeah, Tremaine rather fell into Nabby's trap there. He was moving around the crease, potentially just to give himself some room to hit through the offside. Tremaine followed him, but it turned into a shin-high full toss that Nabby could help round the corner with strong elastic wrists. All time, and it carried a long way over the long leg boundary.
He did. Really good shot from Nabby. And though he's had a slow start, Mohamed Nabby has played so much T20 cricket over the years, he won't be overly alarmed by this. And in some respects, from a Renegades point of view and the struggles that they've had with middle order runs, just having someone with the experience and the potential power of Nabby around when they can think about taking the power surge overs. Oh, Stefan. Here come the ground staff. I mean, you can barely see it in the sky, but rain has stopped play. And it's falling actually now quite hard. As you look up at the floodlights, you can see the rain in front of them. It's 99 for 3, the Renegades, after 12 overs. And fielders and supporters are dashing for cover. Well, this isn't what we wanted.
Yeah, during that Tremaine over, you could just see some spots of rain falling around the batsman, and the hope was that they'd be able to play through it. But like you said, Henry, you can really tell now when you look into the floodlights, you can see the rain falling. And then as Marsh and Nabby were trudging off, they were getting drenched, really. There's the ground staff are frantically trying to get the covers on. There's one chap who's not at all dressed for manual work. He's wearing a checked shirt and some khaki trousers. He looks to be the one who's got the biggest flap on, to be honest.
He does. He's possibly the one that said, "Don't worry, lads, it's not going to rain tonight."
Whereas who we presume are the regular ground staff, you can tell they're regular ground staff because they're wearing shorts. Groundsmen always wear shorts regardless of the weather. They seem to have things under control, but yeah, the chap in the checked shirt and the khaki trousers, he looks frankly like someone from The Office, who's been, not the TV show, the front office, the front desk, who's been sent out to keep an eye on things and is actually causing more problems by his very being there.
Yeah, he's now standing hands on hips. Our friend with the long red hair and the shirt and the chinos. Well, all around him, ground staff are trying to pin down some covers to prevent the waiting for official confirmation, but it looks like Rohit Sharma has been appointed the vice-captain of India for the last 2 games against Australia. But what a series that this has been. I mean, as Stefan says, it was barely believable what happened in that first Test match, and to come back as they have without Virat Kohli is astonishing.
Well, absolutely. I think as we discussed it before as well, Henry, when they lost the first Test and when they got all out for 36, as Stefan mentioned, I think it was done and dusted for India. Most of the Indian audience and most of the global audience must have thought the same, that after 36, Virat Kohli going back, Mohammad Shami injured out of Test match for 6 months, Umesh Yadav also got injured in that Test match. I don't think many people gave India a chance to come back, but you've got to give a lot of credit to Ajinkya Rahane, the way he led the side, the way he made changes in the side. The first time in a long time abroad, India played 2 spinners, where Jadeja and Ashwin both played, because earlier we'd only see 1 spinner and 3 or 4 fast bowlers. So he made the right call, he made the right changes, and then to go out there and play that innings, that one of the best Boxing Day Test hundreds in Australia. Yeah, you got to give a lot of credit to the Indian team and the management for picking the right side, and the players, not just Ajinkya Rahane and Bumrah, the whole team to show that such character after having such a heavy loss. It shows that the Indian cricket is moving in the right direction, even without Kohli and Rohit Sharma playing in a Test.
And Steph, there's suddenly, as you say, all of this talk about the problems being with Australia, and particularly Steve Smith, who's failed 3 innings in a row, and there's a suggestion that India have worked out how to bowl to Steve Smith, this sort of theory of 2 fielders square on the leg side, bowling quickly at that leg stump. Jasprit Bumrah clipped that top of that leg stump in the previous Test match to get rid of Smith, and so suddenly all of the concern lies with Australia.
If they have worked out how to bowl to Steve Smith, if someone could send a note to Joe Root and the England team for 12 months hence from now, that would be much appreciated. You just don't know with Steve Smith, do you? Because his technique looks like so many different things could go wrong with it, and yet he's churned out run after run, mostly against England. How much misery has he put England through over the past couple of Ashes series? But you're right, Henry, in that so much of Australia's batting in recent times has hinged on Smith. Yes, now there is Labuschagne, and as we said, David Warner is so exceptional in home conditions. But we've known for a while that around Steve Smith, Australia haven't found that right formula. They've been tinkering with their openers. Travis Head doesn't look secure as a Test match number 5. Cameron Green is the latest man to be tried at number 6 at the start of his Test career. Yes, Tim Payne has been getting some runs as captain, but we all know that he's still without, say, a Test match 100. So much does hinge on Steve Smith. And so if you can work out Smith and you can keep him quiet, then you've obviously got a chance, because if Australia don't get runs, then the impact of that fearsome bowling attack is negated. But to just loiter on Abhishek's point of India picking the right team and choosing Jadeja and Ashwin in an overseas Test match, which is something they don't do at all often, it's just a great reminder that sometimes picking your best bowlers is better than always being so beholden to the conditions. India have so often thought whenever they play away from home, it's got to be mostly pace and only 1 spinner. Well, this time they've said, do you know what? For the runs that another batsman would have got for us in the top 6, Jadeja can do that job, which he did. And we're also adding a quality spinner to bowl him in tandem with Ashwin, who seems to have Steve Smith's number at the moment. And then even without Mohammad Shami, who, as Abhishek said, is out injured for a long time, Umesh Yadav, Jasprit Bumrah and Mohammad Siraj on debut, excellent pace bowling, was the match of Australia. And that team just looks so much better balanced, especially on that MCG pitch, which can be, or what we saw a few years ago, can be quite slow. The spin options were a good one to take. Almost certainly the right option to take in Sydney as well. We know what the conditions like there. The Sydney pitch certainly takes turn. So you just wonder if India have stumbled upon a formula that will bring them success for the rest of this series. And when you're an Englishman looking ahead to the next 12 months, well, it's series home and away against India, and then the Ashes, amongst other exciting moments of international cricket, and you can't help but wonder how this will affect the England team. And straight away, India, we know they'll be formidable at home anyway. Imagine if they crack the formula for playing away from home too. What a series that could be in the summer. And then what does this mean for England in Australia in 12 months' time? Maybe not much. If Steve Smith can refine the touch that we know he has and the prolific run scoring we know that he can do. But if he doesn't, then that's a real opportunity for England.
Well, as you mentioned, there's a lot of cricket in the next 12 months for England, and then they can definitely look into this series and find a lot of answers which they haven't so far with Steve Smith, with other players, and also how to negate the fast bowling of Australian cricket as well, which is probably one of the best fast bowling attack in the world. So there's a lot of things which can be solved with this series. But as you mentioned with India, yes, with two spinners playing in tandem, and Ravindra Jadeja, if you look at his record in the last two and a half years as a batsman and as a bowler, he's got the best record as an all-rounder in world cricket. So I was a bit shocked when I saw the stats that he has a better record than Ben Stokes when it comes to batting and bowling as an all-rounder. And I think a lot of people, because the way Ravindra Jadeja has been handled by Indian cricket, with limited opportunity in Test cricket, people don't really realize how important a player he could be at that number 6-7 slot. And especially with the bat now, the way he's been batting in white ball cricket, I think that has given a lot of confidence to him in the 5-ball, in the red ball cricket as well. And he firmly believes that he is not he is a genuine batsman along with his bowling. I think he's got a lot of confidence back in his batting ability as well, and that's going to serve really, really well to Indian cricket going forward. And there's so much cricket India is playing. And also, and going back to the England topic against India, there's two, obviously. England is going to India in February. They play 4 tests, 5 one days, and 70-20 if I'm not wrong. So it's a long series, and then India comes back to England. How important do you think, Henry and Stefan, that India-England series has become? I know compared to Ashes, it doesn't hold the same maybe the same periphery or same standard, but obviously it's as big, probably, if not as big as Ashes.
Yeah, I think the increase in significance is growing all the time, because India's record, particularly at home, has been so astonishingly good that by virtue of that success they become a target and teams want to beat them, and so that creates a certain mystique to the series. And also because with the likes of the IPL and the Big Bash League, players in India have become more well known around the world, and so that in itself creates more of a narrative. And so there is certainly a sort of target for England to beat India, and the knowledge that supporters have of how good India are makes it a bigger series. I think that's probably a fair thing to say, Steph.
It's also the way that Test match cricket is loved in England, perhaps like nowhere else in the world. And you're quite right, Henry. India brings star names, none bigger than Virat Kohli. And over certainly the last time India toured here, that Test series just felt like a real event. And even though England won it handsomely, there was a time, I think, in every match bar one where it was just deliciously poised, could have gone either way. And even though the scoreline may have looked quite one-sided, actually it was a fantastic contest. I think India will have a real chance actually when they come here in the summer. And maybe because Abhishek, just lingering on that point of Ravi Jadeja, is he firstly a little bit underrated, maybe even in India, certainly as a Test match player, and secondly, there was a feeling in England that he could be roughed up. He had a bit of a soft underbelly, that he was batting maybe 7 or 8. He would happily throw the bat, but once the ball got around his ear holes, he didn't quite fancy it. Well, if you're making half centuries in Australia, you have to be able to play the short ball. Is that something that he's worked on?
I think definitely that's something he's worked on, and he's really worked hard on his batting. In the last 2 years, if you look at his records, they're just getting better and better in white ball cricket and in test cricket as well. So if somebody can come in at number 7 and get you that consistent 40, 50, 60, and sometimes even maybe he'll go and get some hundreds as well in the future, and that gives a great stability to any side. And I think as a player, he's really coming along as a player now. And that's probably because he's worked really hard on his short pitch bowling. He's playing the short pitch bowling a lot better than we have ever seen in the past. And it's just, it's really exciting to see him doing so well in Australia at the moment. And that'll give the Indian board and also Virat Kohli a lot of confidence to use him when they come to England in the summer.
You look at his record. From 50 test matches, he averages 35 with the bat with 100. 24 with the ball, 216 wickets. He's 32, he's only played 50 test matches. You look at the way that England have gone through spin bowlers over the past 4 or 5 years. If Ravi Jadeja was English, he might have played 100 test matches.
Yeah, but the only thing I think what went against him, that because the way he bowls, the nature of his bowling is quite flat and he bowls quite quick, which often doesn't work in test cricket if the pitches don't provide him much assistance. But what he's doing recently is that I think he's slowing down a little bit with his pace and allowing himself to get that much more spin and a bit more variation to his bowling, which is helping him becoming a much better test bowler. He's always been an exceptional white ball bowler just because the line he bowled, the length he bowled is very hard to get after him. But in test cricket, what he's bringing to his bowling is that he's bowling a bit slower and he's able to turn the ball now.
That's a good point about him being suited to home conditions. Because of the way he plays, you're quite right. When he bowls sort of quick and flat, that is very suited to pitches that turn. And also when we're talking about his batting, when maybe he previously wasn't too keen on the short ball, he wouldn't have got a lot of that in India. And I'm just looking at his stats. Of his 50 test matches, 33 of them have been in India. So that's a very high percentage of them. But if he can turn his game into something that is suitable to all conditions, like you say, by being able to bowl more slowly, by being able to play the short ball, then what an asset he could be. And if he can do those things, then India will have fewer reservations about picking him and Ashwin in the same team, no matter where they're playing, and then they'll just look so much more dangerous.
Oh, absolutely. And I think India has also not used Ashwin pretty well. I don't know, there's a lot of chat going on in India if you go through the media that Ashwin has been used very badly by Virat Kohli, probably for some personal reasons, some dressing room issues they have between themselves, because whenever we've seen Ashwin play white ball cricket, he's been exceptional, nothing sort of exceptional. Even his IPL career, if you see this year's IPL performance, he's been unbelievable. He's hardly gone for any runs, picked up loads of wickets in the IPL, but he still doesn't get a look into the white ball setup anymore in Indian cricket.
There's an issue that interests me, Abhishek, and that is the personal dynamics within the India dressing room and how Virat Kohli's relationships with other players affects selection and things. And Ravi Jadeja is a fascinating example because he's known as the rock star. He has millions of followers on Twitter but follows no one. It all feels like there's a sort of ego and a game, and I imagine, looking from the outside looking in, it must be quite the job managing those egos and making sure everything works in harmony.
Well, absolutely. See, Indian cricket has always had big egos. I remember when MS Dhoni was given the captaincy of Indian cricket, he had the likes of Ganguly, Sehwag, Dhoni, Dravid and Lakshman. So he had to manage the 5 biggest superstars of Indian cricket. And I think he did an exceptional job because he gave them exactly the respect they commanded. And then he was managed to juggle them around pretty well. And the first thing he did, he earned respect of all 5 of them. And I think as a captain, it's very important to earn the respect of your teammates. And once you have done that, the job becomes a lot easier for you. Because once you're the captain, obviously, the biggest challenge you have in front of you is man management more than anything else. Your skills as a captain on the field is completely different, but it's all about how well you can manage the 11 or the 14 you have in a team and how you can keep them all happy.
Is it challenging with characters like Ravi Jadeja? And every international side wherever you go, whatever sport you play, will have characters that make life harder than others, because that is the nature of highly competitive individuals that are successful athletes. How sort of successful do you think Virat Kohli has been at managing some of the more challenging individuals in that side?
I think he's done a pretty good job. If you look at his test records, he's been a very successful captain for India. Yes, there's a lot of chat that he hasn't won any ICC events. When he captains RCB, he hasn't won any trophies for RCB. So there's a lot of chat about why not split the captaincy, let him be the captain for the test side, and why not Rohit do the white ball captaincy. And I think probably that's also somewhere where Rohit also has a bit of an ego, that why am I not being given the white ball captaincy when I've led Mumbai Indians to 4 trophies, and Virat has so far not won anything in white ball cricket. So I don't know what's going on also with Rohit, how well is he managing Rohit, because I was a bit shocked when he was in Australia, Rohit was in India, and nobody knew what was going on with Rohit Sharma. Is he going to go to Australia or is he not going to go to Australia? And for Virat Kohli to come out and say that, oh, I have no contact with Rohit Sharma and we only have an email from him through BCCI. If you're playing together for the past 10 years, surely you can message each other and ask the question, right? So that definitely gave a wrong message to India and to around the world, where people thought, hang on, he's the captain, Rohit Sharma is the vice captain, there must be something wrong between them for Virat Kohli to come up there and say that.
Steph, I don't know about you, but look, from the outside, looking at that India side and the success that they've had, it seems sort of inconceivable that there'd ever be pressure on Virat Kohli considering the weight of runs that he scored. But it feels a little bit like the sort of mood music might be shifting and suggesting that maybe he certainly his batting remains prolific, but his leadership role may be slightly shifting.
It's fascinating to see, isn't it? And like you say, from an outsider looking in, and India have spent a lot of time in England over the past couple of years for ICC tournaments and their own bilateral tours. And in all of that time, Virat Kohli has been the personification of the India team. He has led from the front. If you can cast your mind back to before the World Cup, India's previous tour, he was the one who stood up with the bat in the test matches. Can you remember during the limited overs games when Joe Root did his mic drop? And then after, I think it was in the first test, when Kohli ran him out with a direct hit and was shouting at Root as he walked off the pitch. And we were all fascinated by Kohli's actions. He's so demonstrative. He's like the heartbeat of the team in the field. And we just think India, you think Virat Kohli. And yet in the past couple of months, we've had Rohit Sharma leading the Mumbai Indians to the IPL title. Such a prolific leader, and the Mumbai Indians such a prolific team. So there's questions of, well, should Rohit Sharma be the white ball captain? And now Ajinkya Rahane with a completely different style to Virat Kohli, such a different character. He comes in and he galvanises the team, leading from the front in such a different way, and wins a test match that seemed unwinnable in Australia. And now there's questions of, well, does the test team need a different style of leadership? And I'm not saying that England and Australia have got it right by any stretch of the imagination, but just look at the contrast. And let's throw New Zealand in there as well. England and Australia have got split captaincies in their formats. Owen Morgan and Joe Root, they rub along just fine because they know what their jobs are. Neither man is trying to do the other one's job. Same in Australia, Tim Payne and Aaron Finch. Aaron Finch isn't in the test side, Tim Payne isn't in the white ball teams. They rub along just fine. In New Zealand, Kane Williamson's the man across all 3 formats, universally respected, gets results, he's now the new #1 test batsman in the world. And then you look at India, and there's just so many different things going on, and it's just something that we can't really understand. The rest of the cricketing world, not just the leadership, but also the way that information comes out. That Rohit Sharma episode was just a soap opera, wasn't it? No one seemed to know what was going on, and it just doesn't seem like that would happen in the rest of the world. In other news, it looks like the covers are coming off.
They are. I'll just jump in. Covers are coming off. Umpires are just literally getting out a pad of paper to try and work out what the match regulations will be. As soon as we get them, we'll let you know, but it won't be too long until we see a resumption play. Abhishek.
Yeah, I think, again, going back to the Indian cricket and the way things are shaping up, it was very disappointing from some points, because even BCCI had no idea what was going on at that moment with Rohit Sharma. Probably he just switched his phone off. It felt like he just switched his phone off and said, I'm not going to take anyone's call, and disappeared for that like a few months. And suddenly there was a news coming out from BCCI that he's in the National Cricket Academy in Bangalore doing his rehab. But what shocked the whole nation was that how can he be fit to play the last 2 or 3 games in the IPL and look absolutely fine with his fielding and batting. He got a lovely knock in the finals as well. And then not being selected to even travel with the team. Wouldn't it be better if he was in Australia and doing his rehabilitation with the team rather than being in India, in Bangalore?
Particularly when you factor in the fact of quarantine and all those things that make international travel so difficult.
And obviously the Indian team has the best physios and the best facility for somebody to get fit, rather than being in a National Cricket Academy with physios who are working under the main physio who's with the Indian team. So if you combine all of that, it was really poorly handled by the whole BCCI, I think.
Abhishek, is it fair comment to say that in the other big cricketing nations, the focus is all on the national team, that almost the whole game, say in England, Australia and New Zealand, it is geared around the national side. Everything does everything they can to win for the national team, whereas in India players are pulled in a few more different directions because of the strength of the IPL and maybe because of the strength of the individual, or is that slightly off the mark?
No, absolutely. I think if you're playing for Mumbai Indians and you're paid a couple of $1 million just for 45 days to play that tournament, I think there will be a lot of pressure from the franchise owners and everyone around it for you to be fit, and if you're the main player, if you're the captain, for you to come make a comeback. And then sometimes you do that for the franchise because you know that going forward there's a lot of things hanging around with that franchise monetarily and in lots of other ways as well. So yeah, sometimes it could be really, really tough for the players to make that call. And I think everyone was I think even BCCI was a bit taken aback when Rohit Sharma made that comeback in the IPL and played those couple of matches and then said, I'm not fit to travel to Australia, and was declared unfit by the physios and whoever they were. So yeah, it's a difficult call to make as a player because there's a lot of pressure from all ends, I guess.
It's an interesting situation, certainly. And how does it resolve itself?
That's a good question. I think BCCI need to step in. I think if you are playing for India, your prime focus and your main job is to play for the country. And I think at that point BCCI could have easily put their foot down and said to Rohit that we need you to be fit for Australia. You cannot play the next 2 or 3 games in the IPL. You need to go back and recover. We'll give you the best physiotherapy which is possible, or rehab possible, and you go and do the rehab. You go back to India and do the rehab and try and be fit for Australia.
Is it just the way that things happen in India, though, Abhishek? And I'm not just talking about the national team or domestic competitions or whatever. And another difference, say, the IPL fixtures, they always come out last minute. You'd never see that in England. We'd know when games are happening a year in advance. The same with Test series being confirmed. It's normally very close to when the action actually starts. Yeah. Is it just actually in India, power is in so many different places that decisions might be made in a slightly different way to how they are in England and Australia? It's just something that it's a different way of doing things that sometimes we won't understand.
Yeah, I mean, this year we all understood why they delayed the whole every news about the IPL, because obviously they couldn't finalize if it's going to happen in India. Is Dubai safe? They had to get a lot of answers from the Dubai government. Were they able to do the tournament there or not? And that's why probably the schedule took so long. But yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one because, as you mentioned, there's so much power struggle in India, and that could sometimes be very difficult to manage, and then everyone has their own way of doing things and have their own say to manage all those people together. Sometimes it could be hard work.
Looks like we might be not far from a resumption here, everybody, which is good news. The players are gathering on the boundary edge and getting ready to head to the middle, and thankfully we haven't lost, I don't think, too much time. I will confirm in just a moment what the match regulations are going to be. We haven't had that official update from out in the middle as yet, but it's fascinating hearing from you, Abhishek, and the knowledge that you've got from how the sort of politics and dynamics work within Indian cricket, and the challenges that, you know, it must be the politics between IPL and international must be so challenging.
It will be challenging for players, and also for I think the support staff and everyone. And there's so much talk about conflict of interest, and so much going on with the sporting world, that sometimes it's really, really hard for the players to find the right balance and find the right answer. But I'm sure they all do their best and try and find the right answer, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But still, they managed to produce some unbelievable talent, the BCCI and India, and I think that's a lot to do because of the IPL, the platform it has given to everyone around the world, not just Indian domestic cricketers, but for people all over the world. They've got a great opportunity to showcase their talent in the top leagues like the Big Bash, and with 100 starting and the IPL. There's so much you can do as a cricketer.
That is a debate for another day, Abhishek. The players are heading out to the middle. I can tell you that this match has been reduced to 17 overs a side, and that is significant because of power surges. And let me explain why. The Renegades could have managed to slip in both of their power surge overs had they started at the 11th over, but having delayed it, and now the match has been reduced to 17 overs a side, it is now just a 1 over power surge, so they've missed out on an opportunity. Whether the match regulations would have shifted in that way had they taken the 2 and they would have got the benefit, who knows, but they haven't got that benefit of having taken the 2 power surge overs, so now they have the option of just 1 more, and so they will have to work out when to take that, at what point. But it is 17 overs a side. Mohammed Nabi and Sean Marsh are back out in the middle. The ground staff, including our friend in the check shirt and the chinos, have cleared up everything and got it all sorted. And I can tell you they're actually going to take the power surge immediately as the umpire swings his arms. I'll do 1 more over, Stefan, and then we'll hand over to you for the conclusion of the innings. And from the Metricon Stadium on the Gold Coast, we're happy to say that play is about to get back underway with Daniel Sams to bowl the 13th over out of 17. The Renegades are 99 for 3. Marsh on 57 waits for Sams, who's bowling into the pads of the batsman, worked into the leg side for a single. Cry for the second run is just about made in time. They get through for the second, and so Marsh will be on strike for the second ball of the power surge. 100 up, 101 for 3. Interesting what we're seeing here, Abhishek, in terms of the bowling, because we've seen it that right arm bowlers, left arm bowlers now are bowling round the wicket and trying to cramp the batsman for room in the power surge overs. That seems to be the tactic of choice at the moment.
I think that gives them a very good variety of either you bowl at the body of the batsman or try and bowl that wide Yorker.
Sams into Marsh, who's swinging into the night sky, and I think he's got all of that for 6. Yeah, 6 runs clattering into the red seating as supporters run to try and retrieve the ball. And Sean Marsh, regardless of the fielding restrictions, you can't put a fielder there. That is a monster hit over deep mid-wicket. It's 107 for 3.
Well, again, a very good pickup shot. The ball was there in the slot, was a slow delivery as well. He picked it early, Sean Marsh, and then heaved it over that mid-wicket area.
Another shot in the air, could be a chance of a catch. Oh, just put down. Green running in from the boundary edge. 2 men out there on the leg side. One of them could easily have taken the catch perhaps, but in the end there was a little bit of a stop and a start, and it's put down by Green, and Marsh gets a little bit of a life.
Yeah, again, cramping him for room, just following him, Daniel Sams, but then with great effort. Not an easy catch. He had to make a lot of ground to get to that ball, but then at the end, just full stretch dive in front of him, just didn't get enough to hold on to it. But lucky for Sean Marsh. I was a bit surprised when they took the power surge in this over. I thought they would come in, have a look in for the first over, and then take the power surge in the 14th.
Sams bowling to Nabi, who gives himself some space and almost takes out Marsh at the non-striker's end. Clattered down the ground for a single. 109 for 3.
So yeah, I was a bit surprised, but at the moment it's working for them. They've already picked up 10 so far of this over. 2 more balls remaining in this over. They can pick up another boundary. They've done the job with the power surge, but it's a bit when you don't know that the rain's going to come and you lost a power surge over, it gives a bit of advantage to the batting team when they bat second, sorry.
Yeah, Marsh on striker. Sams bowls a wide delivery that's chased by Sean Marsh, and he'll pick up one, running it down to short third man. He moves on to 67. Nabi will be on strike for the final ball of this 13th over. 110 for 3 is the score. We've got 4 overs after this one, and a match reduced to 17 overs aside because of the rain that we've seen in the last half hour in Queensland. And supporters having to duck for cover, get out of the way of a fairly heavy shower, I think it's fair to say. Sams moving in to bowl the final ball of his third over to Nabi. Oh, it won't be the final ball of the over because it's horribly wide down the leg side. And Sams has been a little more expensive than usual. He's gone for 20 from this first 2.5 overs, and mops his brow, trudges back to the end of his mark and prepares to bowl that final ball of the over once again. There will still be a little bit of grease on that outfield, so ball might be slightly trickier to grip. And for a bowler like Sams, it's got all of the variations, rolling the finger over the ball, knuckle balls, all sorts of things. It might be tricky. And he's bowling to Nabi, who's swinging into the air. Can a fielder get underneath it? No, again, it's going to just evade Ferguson this time, running out side of the circle from cover. And Nabi, with an unconvincing loft into the offside, moves on to 13. The over comes to an end, and the Melbourne Renegades, with the score 112 for 3 after 13 and 4 overs left, are in a reasonable 113 for 3, I should say, are in a reasonable position. Marsh on 67, Nabi on 13. Abhishek, some thoughts from you, and then Stefan will take us through to the end of the innings.
Yeah, 4 more overs to go with 113. If they can get around 45-50 of the last 4 overs, they can get to that 160 mark of 17 overs, decent total. And then it'll all depend on how the bowlers come out there and bowl. But we got to know that Sydney Thunder's got one of the most experienced batting order, and in informed batting order as well, with the likes of Khwaja, Hales, Ferguson, Oliver. They've got a lot of batting, and most of them are in very good touch as well. So it's not going to be easy for the Melbourne Renegades, whatever total they get tonight, to come out there and try and defend it.
Nathan McAndrew bowls to Sean Marsh, who's heaving into the leg side, out towards deep mid-wicket and deep square leg. There's 2 fielders out there. It's gone right in between the middle of them. They both converge. The throw goes into the floodlights and briefly blinds wicketkeeper Sam Billings. They take a couple, 115 for 3. The overs for each bowler, there'll be 3 threes and 2 fours. No bowler had got to his full allocation of 4, so there is some flexibility for the Sydney Thunder, and I think that's just another reason why that rain break will probably benefit them more than the Renegades. Not only did it sap the momentum from the Renegades, the Thunder, it's always easier or better when you're chasing because you know your target in these rain-shortened games. Duckworth, Lewis, Stern will play a part. I'm sure the Renegades total will get a little boost. I wonder what would have happened if the Renegades had taken both power surge overs. Presumably the Thunder would have got 2 surge overs as well.
Yeah, probably. I think if they managed to take the power surge straight after the 10th over and they had the 2 power surge overs, probably that would have been offered to Thunders as well, because otherwise it will be really unfair on Thunders to come out there and have 5 overs of power play rather than 6. But the good news is that didn't happen, so both teams will get 5 overs. 4 overs of power play and an over of power surge. So as you mentioned, yes, there's always, when there's rain in the atmosphere, it's always an advantage to the team bowling first, because they can plan the innings a lot better when they come out to bat. They've got a target, and when the overs shorten the overs, you've got 10 wickets still.
Marsh on 69 waits for McAndrew, digs out a Yorker up towards long off. Ben Cutting does the fielding, single taken. Score moves on to 116 for 3. Remember, this game now shortened to 17 overs per side after rain on the Gold Coast. So the Melbourne Renegades got 3 overs and 4 deliveries remaining after being asked to bat by the Sydney Thunder. Thunder second in the Big Bash table, Renegades bottom, looking for only their 2nd win in what this is their 6th match. McAndrew, number 44, stomps into Nabi. hoiks this one out towards deep mid-wicket. The blue-booted Chris Green comes off the boundary to do the fielding. One more taken. Score moves on to 117 for 3. Mohamed Nabi has 13 from 18 deliveries.
He just couldn't get going tonight. Mohamed Nabi is just struggling to get anything off the middle of the bat. But Sean Marsh has played a wonderful knock so far, 70 of 40.
McAndrew bowls to Marsh. It's a very high full toss that Marsh uppercuts for 6. It's called no ball for the heights, so beamer from McAndrew. He'll probably get a warning as well. But how skillful was that from Sean Marsh? Normally, as a batsman, your instinct is to take evasive action from a delivery like that, but Marsh, cool as you like, leans back, uppercuts it over the slips for 6. 123 for 3. Marsh on to 76 from 41, and now he's facing up to a free hit.
Yeah, it was a great shot, and that shows that he's in such good touch. He's watching the ball really, really closely. With the third man fielder inside the 30-yard circle, you don't want to bowl a delivery like that. Clearly slipped out of McAndrew's hand. He didn't want to bowl that delivery, probably trying to go for the Yorker.
Free hit, McAndrew bowls. This time he does get it closer to what he's aiming for with the Yorker, but it's still a low full toss. Marsh swings it out towards the leg side, and because it's such a huge boundary out there, the boundary rider, Chris Green, who's doing a lot of yards, deep mid-wicket to deep mid-wicket, can't prevent the second run. 126 for 3. Marsh has 78 from 42. He's got time for a century here.
Oh, absolutely. Both of them came out all guns blazing after that little break because of the rain. And the last 2 overs have been pretty productive for the Renegades so far.
McAndrew bowls to Marsh. Again, he's looking for the Yorker. Again, it's a low full toss. Once more out into the leg side, but this time Alex Hales, the long-on fielder, is quickly off the vents to prevent the second run. 127 for 3. Sean Marsh has 79 from 43. He has 2 previous T20 hundreds with a highest score of 115. But as we said before the rain, he's been in superb form in all formats of the game this year.
Yeah, he's looking really good here. Sean Marsh again, and yet another big over. They've got 13 so far.
McAndrew, final delivery. Nabi swings high out towards long off. Couple of bounces has worked for Chris Green to do. He can't get there. Dive down there behind the bowler, but the ball trickles into the boundary to complete the 14th over. The Renegades up to 131 for 3, and Mohamed Nabi took him 9 deliveries to get off the mark, but he now has 18 from 19. He's joining the party too.
Oh, absolutely, he's joining the party, and 18 of the previous over, a big over again. They got a power surge over before that where they managed to get 14, so 2 big overs. And that no ball, we are again seeing the replay of that no ball. That was a horrific delivery for McAndrew, but a very good result for the Renegades. They're looking good with 3 overs to go, 131. If they can get another 40 here, Stefan, with 170 on board, 10 and over, when the Thunders come out to chase, it won't be easy.
Yeah, that beamer from McAndrew actually reached Marsh at about chin height. So he did really well to lean back and uppercut it for 6. Mohamed Nabi has swapped bats. Perhaps he's gone for the clubber for the last 3 overs. It looked like when he just tested the handle, this one had a bit of elastic, bit of give in it, bit of a snap, Abhishek.
It looks heavy as well, so we often see in T20 cricket players opting for the heavier bat in the last 2 or 3 overs. We always see Hardik Pandya do it, and then he hits it miles as well. Probably the Renegades will expect the same from Nabi, to hit some long balls. If they can get a few lusty blows here, they can easily get to that 170, 175. That will give them a very good boundary, a very good total, a bit of a cushion for the bowlers when they come out to bowl.
Well, this is going to be interesting. Off spinner Chris Green about to try and bowl with a bar of soap. The Thunder having to call on the spinner at this stage of the innings because of the way the overs are being restricted. It'll probably just be the one from Green. He's going to bowl right arm round to the left-handed Marsh. He's just rubbing his hand in the dirt to make sure his grip on the ball is as good as it can be. He's got a huge black towel in the back of his lime green trousers. He's pulled that from the bathroom. You could have a shower with that. Now he waits at the end of his mark. Big deep breath, creeps in, bowls to Marsh, full toss, which Marsh just whips into the onside. Daniel Sams comes off the mid-wicket fence to do the fielding. Just a single, 132 for 3. A little bit of calm, a little bit of silence has just descended on Carrara. Chris Green's having a good chat with the umpire. I think he might want the ball changed. The umpire's inspecting it, and he's going to have a word with his square-leg colleague. The old "can we have a different ball please" umpire trick, Abhishek.
Yeah, they've got to see. Probably it's got a bit too wet. Probably that's the reason Green is asking for the ball to be changed. It's become a bit... But if it's become a bit soft, as a bowler, I would probably go ahead and bowl with that particular delivery, because particular ball, because it'll be harder for the batsman. You don't want a hard ball. You don't... Sometimes at the end of the innings.
I wonder if he's saying it's split and some water's got into it.
Probably, yeah.
And it's misshapen the ball, making it harder to grip.
Yeah, that could be the case as well. So we'll just have to. But at the moment, umpires have handed him over the same ball. They don't think it's got to a condition where they need to change it. But there's an opportunity for Nabi here to go after the off spinner with the turn. Can he go over that long on or cow corner region where he loves to go?
Green blows on his fingers, gelled hair, full toss to Nabi, slashing into the offside. It's gone out towards deep point, who's done a bit of ice skating to field the ball. Throw comes in, Sam Billings has the bails off. They'll ask for the third umpire, but I think Nabi's got back for the second quite comfortably there. If he has, the score will be 135 for 3.
It was a very good throw from the deep, right on top of the stumps. It might be a bit closer than it looks, Stefan. Yes, I still think he's reached, he's got in, but it could be close. Now he's got in, yeah.
Billings took the ball in front of the stumps, swung his arms behind him. Zinger Bales flew into the air, but Nabi, doing what all cricketers are taught when they first learn the game, running the bat in, and he'll be home.
Yeah, very well run by these two. A quick 2.
I was ahead of the scoreboard, 134 for 3, 2 deliveries of the 14th over gone. Nabi has 20 from 20, so he's caught up after only getting off the mark with the 9th delivery faced. In fact, Billings might have just touched the stumps with his foot as he took the ball. It doesn't matter either way, he didn't remove the bails until Nabi was well home. Not sure what we're waiting for here. Still waiting for the decision to come. Billings looks slightly confused.
Yeah, looks like a pretty straightforward decision here to me.
Finally, we're going to get back underway. Chris Green still bowling right arm round the wicket to the right-handed Nabi. Nabi in the Melbourne Renegades red. Blue boots. Chris Green also blue boots. Nabi, he goes downtown, high into the air, out towards long on, towards the boundary for 6. That is a huge hit into the second tier. It had hang time, but did it have the distance? Yes, it did. It went miles. 140 for 3. The Renegades, they're flying after the rain break.
Yeah, that was a great shot. And that's where you always think, is it a good option to bring a spinner, especially an off spinner, on the 15th over when it's a 17-over game. Nabi looking to hit the ball, and he's timing it well at the moment. And it's an easy option for him to go over that long on or the deep mid-wicket region. And that's exactly what he's doing. It's going to be a tough 3 deliveries coming for Chris Green here.
Yeah, they went to off-spin when the seam of Ben Cutting would also have been an option. Green, he was a worried man as that ball landed. Might have been wondering if he was ever going to see it again. He's now drying it with that black towel with some gusto. He's had a word with captain Callum Ferguson. He's moving his offside fielders around. Don't worry about the offside when Mohamed Nabi's smashing it into the second tier over long on.
Yeah, don't think he's worried about the offside field at the moment. He's only eyeing that cow corner and long on.
Got an open stance, Nabi, waits for Green again, low full toss. Nabi almost swings himself off his feet, but he can't time this one. Single down towards long on. 141 for 3. Nabi has 27 off 22.
He must be cursing himself after that delivery. There was a full toss, knee height. Could have easily dispatched that one as well over that long one or the cow corner region, but just didn't get any timing. Mohammad Nabi, still on 27, he did well. As you mentioned, he was on 0 after the first 8 deliveries he faced, got off the mark on the 9th delivery, and since then he's managed to score 26 more runs of 13 deliveries, so going at 200 since he got his first run. The strike rate, 200, I meant.
Chris Green, he's got his hair gelled, spiked up. Should have captained Warwickshire in this year's T20 Blast, but that move was called off because of the coronavirus pandemic. Bowls to Marsh, hammers it down the ground for a 1-bounce 4. Straight of the man at long on, and Marsh is up to 84 from 45 deliveries. Renegades 145 for 3, with 1 delivery of the 15th over remaining. The Melbourne team, after being asked to bat by Sydney Thunder, they're posing a really challenging target in this 17 over game. Marsh waits again, his short sleeves riding high up his biceps, looks around the field. Underneath that red Melbourne Renegades helmet, Chris Green has conceded 14 runs from this over with 1 delivery remaining, figures of 0 for 35 from 2.5. He waits, breathes deeply, creeps into Marsh. That's a good delivery from Green, full toss that Marsh can only dig out for a single. So with 2 overs to go, the Renegades are 146 for 3. Marsh has 85 from 46, Nabi 27 from 22.
The last 3 overs have been very productive for the Renegades. 14 and then 18 of the next over, and again 14. So they've got 3 massive overs back to back. Since they've come out after that rain break, they have looked very dangerous. Both Nabi and Marsh doing the job for their side. They desperately needed their middle order to click, and Nabi finally joining the party, 27 of 22, and with 2 more overs to go with 146 on board, Renegades are looking set for a very, very good total here, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on the Thunders when they come out to bat, though they have a very, very good batting side.
Yeah, remember when Sydney Thunder come to chase this, amongst their batting lineup will be Alex Hales and Sam Billings, 1 England international, 1 exiled England international. Nathan McAndrew is one of the bowlers chosen to bowl 4 overs. He's into Marsh, good Yorker. Marsh backs off outside the leg stump, digs it out towards long off. Ben Cutting has had a real tricky time out there. He looked like a man falling into a swimming pool trying to do the fielding. 2 taken, 148 for 3. We can see the challenges of fielding in the wet conditions, slippery ball, and the fielders struggling with their footing, Abhishek.
Yeah, it's not easy. Every time the outfield is a bit wet, it's very difficult for the bowlers, especially for the spinners, to get any assistance of the ball. And even fielding is you're always worried about slipping and your foot getting stuck on that wet soil.
McAndrew bowls to Marsh, who's heaving this into the onside. He's taken. Well, it's a huge boundary out there, and like Riley Rousseau before him earlier on tonight, with that sort of connection, Marsh might have thought on any other ground he'd be getting a maximum, but instead he's picked out Chris Green at deep mid-wicket, and he's gone for a wonderful knock of 87 from 48 deliveries. The Renegades lose their 4th wicket with a score of 148. Super stuff from Sean Marsh.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant from Sean Marsh. 87 runs with a strike rate of 181. He's done the job for his side and played a wonderful knock again. And as you mentioned, any other ground, probably that's a 6. That's a huge boundary on that part of this ground. But what a knock he has played for his side when the team desperately needed it. Started the new year pretty well for himself and hopefully for the Renegades as well. Sean Marsh. And with Nabi and Imad comes and joins him in the middle. They've still got 10 more deliveries to face. If they can manage to get another 20-25, very good total here, Stefan.
That's the man born in Swansea who has joined the action. Imad Wasim, Pakistan all-rounder. He's had a fair bit of T20 success already this year. He won the Blast with Nottinghamshire. He won the PSL with the Karachi Kings. He's at the non-strikers end as McAndrew bowls to Nabi, who has smited this one over mid-wicket. That is absolutely enormous. Into the second tier. It's a big boundary anyway. That has gone absolutely miles. 154 for 4. Fetch that.
Oh, that was a huge hit. Again, a slow ball, picked the length early, was a short one. But again, to be able to hit that ball that far, great bat speed, great balance when he played that shot, and getting the maximum result as well. Nabi is back. He's looking in great touch tonight, and that's very good news for the Renegades.
We've talked about it all night, how big the outfield is in Carrara on the Gold Coast. I think in other stadiums that's gone out of the ground. They're calling for the ball to be changed because Nabi's done it some grievous harm. I think he's hit it out of shape. What do you think about that, Abhishek? And in other grounds, that's on the roof, isn't it?
Probably, yeah, if you're playing in India, but that's gone a long way. In some of the grounds, it's gone out of the ground as well. That was a huge hit. And probably it's good news for the Thunders. They were looking to change the ball for the last 2 overs, and Nabi has done that with that 6. Hit it miles, probably completely ruined the shape of the ball as well with that 6.
It's his 36th birthday today, Mohamed Nabi. Maybe maybe that bat that he's changed was his presence. Call for the clubber.
Yeah, that bat looks good. That bat looks quite thick as well. So if you saw the edges, it was pretty thick. And nowadays the bats are huge. If you see those bats, you're like, wow. Even if I don't hit it off the middle, it's still gonna go.
He had no runs from 8 balls. He's now got 33 from 23. More than 200 caps for Afghanistan. And I saw the other day that of all the international cricket that Afghanistan have played, or the official international cricket that Afghanistan have played, Mohamed Nabi's missed only 11 of those games. Here's McAndrew with his reply. That's a bouncer and a high bounce that's called wide. Nabi would have needed a step ladder to reach that one. 155 for 4. Do you ever call for the heavy bat, Abhishek?
Unfortunately not. I always call for the lighter one because once I batted for a while, that bat became heavier for me. So I was not a fan of a heavy bat because I always wanted to play a lot of side strokes and stuff. So I was always more of a timer rather than trying to heave the ball. So I always preferred a lighter one, Stefan.
McAndrew to Nabi. He's gone big again. This one's going out towards the leg side and it's taken this time. Well, it got plenty of hang time into the night sky, but not the distance of the 60s that we've seen from Nabi's heavy bat. And Chris Green at deep mid-wicket came off the fence and took the catch at chest height. So Mohamed Nabi goes for 33 from 24 deliveries, and the Melbourne Renegades are 155 for 5 with 9 deliveries of their innings remaining.
Yeah, again, the moment he hit that delivery, it seemed like he's going to sail to the crowd again, but just didn't get it enough. And as you mentioned, if you don't get everything right, it's such a huge boundary. It's very difficult to get the ball outside the park, but he still played a very good hand for his side tonight. Mohamed Nabi, they needed it. They needed somebody from the middle order to come out there and perform, and he did that for his side. And they're looking good, Renegade, at the moment. Still few deliveries to go. If they can pick up a few more boundaries, that's a decent total.
Just to correct myself, 8 deliveries remaining rather than 9. Mackenzie Harvey has joined Imad Wasim, so the Renegades have now got 2 batsmen in the crease who've not faced a delivery. McAndrew has 3 for 39, bowling to Imad Wasim, who digs out his first ball up towards long off. There'll be a single as the fielder hurries in. 156 for 5, 1 delivery of the 16th over remaining. Remember, this is just 17 overs per side now, the Renegades versus the Sydney Thunder. After that rain delay, Mackenzie Harvey, 20-year-old left-hander, he's played this is his 3rd game of the season. He's had a did not bat and an 8 not out. He played in the 2019 final when the Renegades won the title, but he didn't play at all last year because of an injury. Now facing his first ball from McAndrew, again finds the Yorker, but Mackenzie Harvey with a bit of inside out gets a single into the offside to complete the 16th over. The Renegades 157 for 5 with 1 over remaining. Harvey and Imad have 1 apiece. 13 off this last over. Abhishek 170. That's a stiff total to chase from 17 overs for the Thunder, isn't it?
It's not going to be easy, but the only thing which will work towards them is that they still have 10 wickets and they're batting 17 overs, and the batting order in such good form, Stefan, that if any side you would fancy coming out there and chasing that total is probably going to be Thunders. And with Alex Hales being at the top of the order and the kind of innings he played in the previous match of 71 of just 29 deliveries, there's no reason for the Thunders to come out there and not be able to chase it. So it's going to be it's going to be a cracker of a game. So we just got to wait for the Thunders to come out there. But still, there's one more over to go in Renegades innings, and if they can pick up another 10 or 15 of this over with 170, it's going to be a very, very good game in hand.
It's actually worth remembering that the Renegades total will probably get a little bit of a boost from DLS as well. It's going to be Daniel Sams, the left arm quick, to bowl the final over. He's bowling to left-handed Mackenzie Harvey. He's bowled him. Looks like a slower ball from Sams. Harvey swinging himself off his feet, trying to get the ball into the leg side. Completely deceived. He loses middle and leg stumps. He goes for one. Renegades 157 for 6.
Yeah, very good change-up, and that's why he's been so good in this year's competition. He's been so successful with the ball and with the bat as well. Again, the change-ups are brilliant, and it's not just about the change-up, it's about his execution as well. It's just hitting the right length, and the variations have worked really well for Daniel Sams in this competition. But Mackenzie just going for one, trying to go for that big heave over that mid-wicket region. Still, the massive boundary. Not easy to get the ball out of the park.
1 for 22 then from Daniel Sams. It was a little off-cutter to deceive Mackenzie Harvey. The sort of skillful bowling that brought him 30 wickets in last season's Big Bash League. That's a record. He was a player of the tournament, the left armour. And now the tall figure of Will Sutherland is at the crease. Number 12 on his back. Bon Jovi playing in the background. Sutherland waits for Sams. Black towel flowing behind him. Sutherland looks for a chip onto the leg side. Just hits the pad and they run through for a leg bye. 158 for 6 with 4 deliveries of the innings remaining.
Yeah, he's looking good again for that Player of the Tournament award. If Thunders keep performing the way they are, if they manage to reach the finals, he'll get plenty of opportunities to pick up a lot of wickets, score a lot of runs. He scored a lot of runs as well, Daniel Sams, and he's such an important player for the Thunders at that number 7-8 position. He can just come in and play some of those lusty blows as well. So it changes the whole dynamic of the game.
Sams scurries into Wasim. It's short. Wasim pulls out towards deep mid-wicket for 4. Well, there was a man out there, and he only had to move maybe 10 or 15 yards to his right, but he gave up the chase. Chris Green didn't even bother with the dive. Well connected by Imad Wasim. The score moves on to 162 for 6, the Renegades, with 3 deliveries remaining.
Yeah, it was a slow delivery again, but this time Imad was ready. He was waiting on the back foot and then hit it so hard between those two fielders, mid-on and deep mid-wicket.
Left-hander waits with his sleeves rolled up. It's another short ball from Sams. Wasim grunts in frustration because he knows that was another chance to get the ball away. Instead, he sort of Q-ends it into the offside for a single. 163 for 6 with 2 deliveries of the innings remaining. Still
a very good total. If they end up with 165, still not going to be easy for the Thunders. It all depends how the Renegade bowlers come out there and bowl. It's very important to bowl well in the first 4. You don't want the opposition to get plenty of runs in the first 4 overs. Aaron Finch, we see him in the dugout.
Sams bowls, low full toss to Will Sutherland. Swings out towards long on. 1 run taken. So with 1 delivery of the innings remaining, the Renegades 164 for 6. They were asked to bat by the Sydney Thunder. Thunder second in the table. The Renegades, they're struggling at the bottom. Just 1 win from their 5 games. Finch made 18. Sean Marsh, excellent 87 from 48. Sam Harper 7. Riley Rousseau 3. Mohamed Nabi 3 sixes in his 33. And Mackenzie Harvey 1. And now it'll be Imad Wasim on 6 not out, facing the final delivery from Daniel Sams, who bowls. That's a good Yorker from Sams. Wasim sort of slices it out towards the deep cover region. There might have been a chance of a run out had the throw been a good one. but instead it bounced short of the wicketkeeper Sam Billings, who was backpedaling, and it allowed him and Wazim to come back for a second run. So at the end of all that, at the end of their 17 overs, the Melbourne Renegades have 166 for 6. We'll wait to see what the Sydney Thunder have to chase for victory if that total is boosted by DLS. Regardless, it's going to be a stiff chase, isn't it, for the Sydney Thunder, Abhishek Jhunjhunwala?
It's going to be a very stiff chase, regardless of if they add some more runs to their total because of the Duckworth fluid. But as I mentioned, if any team can come out there and impose some threat to the Renegades total, will be probably Thunders, just because the batting is in such good form. Everyone has clicked, everyone has got runs under their belt, especially the likes of Alex Hales, Callum Ferguson. They've got Young Davis as well, who's played some very, very entertaining knocks in this year's competition. So they've got a very tall batting order with the Daniel Sams coming in at number 6-7. They've got Ben Cutting, who's a genuine all-rounder as well. So it's going to be a very, very good game, it seems like, Stefan.
Thank you, Abhishek. Yes, Abhishek mentioned that Sydney Thunder batting lineup, powerful batting lineup, that's going to be chasing that Melbourne Renegades total, includes Sam Billings and Alex Hales. England interest in the chase, which will be coming up in just a couple of minutes' time. But during the interval, we're going to be hearing some of the Test Match special preview of 2021 podcast. England are packing their bags and heading off to Sri Lanka in the next couple of days, and there's a tour of India in February and March to follow. There's a packed summer schedule before the Ashes kicks off in November of this year. Well, Jonathan Agnew, Simon Mann, Andy Zaltzman and Ebony Rainford-Brent have looked ahead to what faces England before the Ashes and whether those matches on the subcontinent are the best preparation for taking on Australia.
You know, from a batting perspective, you'd want to get used to pace coming at you, bounce, the works, and actually your spin game needs to be hugely in order. Not that it doesn't against someone like Lyon, but I mean, it's completely different conditions that just don't prepare you. So you're right. Look, it's the way the system works. It's where they've looked to prepare the games. But actually, I'm not sure any country really prepares you for an Ashes series. But if there was one that wasn't, I would say the furthest away is Sri Lanka. So that's not ideal.
No, as a coach, I mean, you're still pulling your hair out because you're trying to get everything together and formulate plans and who's going to be, basically all rounders. I think that sort of area where you're going to bat there and bowl there, and how do you balance the side? And of course, you're balancing completely different lineups in the winter before you go off to Australia.
What I would say about it, of course, one thing is we were supposed to be playing Sri Lanka 10 months ago, so it wouldn't normally be in the cycle for this year. Going away and playing in India, although it's very, the conditions are very difficult, they are really tough, hard opponents in their own country. And if there is talk about which is the hardest place to win in the world, well, probably Australia and India. India, I think, lost one home series in something like 17 years, so they are a very difficult team to dislodge at home as well. So, but very different types of conditions, very different types of pitches. It's the modern game. You've just got to get on with it.
Yeah, and India at home. Let's have a reminder, Andy. You've probably been tinkering through your stats and so on. I mean, just demonstrate how difficult they are to beat at home at the moment.
Well, both India and Australia, going back to 2013, so after Alistair Cook's team won in India in that terrific series. Since then, India have played 34 tests at home. They've won 28, drawn 5 and lost 1. Australia, in that same time, have won 28, drawn 6 and lost 4 at home. And some of those losses were when Smith and Warner were out of the side in the aftermath of the sandpaper issue. These are two of the toughest challenges statistically that there have ever been in Test cricket. I know we have fewer draws generally in cricket than we used to, but this is pretty much as hard as it gets. And in terms of preparation for Australia, you look at the Indian bowling attack, we see different types of bowlers, but in terms of the constant pressure England will be under against the Indian bowlers, looking at some of their recent stats since the start of 2017, Ishant Sharma, who through most of his career has been sort of useful but not actually at the top end statistically, 85 wickets at 22, Umesh Yadav 76 wickets at 22, Jasprit Bumrah 68 wickets at 20. And that's not even look at Mohamed Shami, 104 wickets at 23. Those are 4 absolutely top line seam bowlers, plus then the spin threat Ashwin and Jadeja, whichever of those they play. So that, I mean, in terms of training England's batsmen up to bat a long time against unrelenting threat, 2 series with India could be quite a good way of doing it. That said, looking at England playing in India, then at home against India, that is simply appalling scheduling. In 9 tests against the same opposition, we saw in the 2013 when England played 2 back-to-back Ashes series. I think the cricket really suffered as a result, and you want these things spread out through the schedule. So I'm not quite sure how it's ended up this way, but it's I think just objectively disappointing from a cricket fan's point of view to have those series in the same year.
But isn't it bizarre if you're going through all those stats there? If you were to somehow get some sort of time warp machine and go back to the mid-1970s when you got Prasanna and Bedi and Chandrasekhar and Venkatragavan, and there's you listing off the great threat from India now, the fast bowlers. And they're brilliant, aren't they? But you think of, how has that happened? And there's always been that debate about why do Pakistan have all the fast bowlers and India don't have any? And of course, batsmen are the stars in India and so on. But there's been, of course, this very high-profile fast bowling school that Dennis Lilly and others have been part of down there in Chennai, and just quietly, well, here's the results.
And it's made this Indian side a fascinating team to watch, and I think that will be particularly so in the series in England, where we saw an excellent series a couple of summers ago, where their bowling was terrific and their batting sort of let them down against England, sort of equally high-class seamers. So I think that the series, England have struggled in India generally outside that Alistair Cook, since that Alistair Cook tour, they had a terrible series 4 years ago. But I think that it could be one of the classic series if both teams have their frontline seam attacks fit.
Do you think we all have to reprogram ourselves a bit, and I'm including the players, and actually look at this India tour of it actually not being a threat of the dust bowls and the spinners, actually think, well, hang on a minute. I mean, it's actually not in India's interest to play on those sorts of pitches either.
I think what we've just demonstrated actually is that for England, actually the best preparation for the Ashes might be playing away to India and playing at home against India, because they've got this sustained hostility as well from their pace attack. So, and as Andy said, they don't give much away. So it might actually be the perfect preparation. It really, really steels you for what's ahead to play against top class opposition India provide.
Eb, what are your thoughts on perhaps we have just disproved my earlier theory. Perhaps actually this could be a very worthwhile exercise.
Yeah, you could be right. I mean, who knows? We only ever know when this all pays off. Look, what is clear, obviously, is that they're the highest in terms of competitive nature. You've got a captain like Kohli who's going to come at you through both and will try and completely obliterate you at home. And then, as we saw how he upped his performance when he came to England later in the summer, those last 5 test matches will be a real challenge and a working over. So, not ideal preparation in terms of conditions, I suppose, throughout. However, there is no doubt you'll have time to get some things in order, and maybe games more like at the Oval, for example, when India do come over, maybe that will have some sort of relevance in some way towards an Australia series.
Something that could happen, Jonathan and Abin Andy, is that some of the techniques at the top of the order could be exposed by some of the top class bowling that England are going to face in India and at home to India. So you could have a situation where players you feel are nailed in for the Ashes in a year's time, might be struggling for form, and there's that issue as well, isn't it? I suppose it works both ways. That if you play against relatively straightforward opposition, you score freely, and you think, oh yeah, this person is definitely going to do well in the Ashes, and actually when they get and play Australia, they get totally exposed. So I mean, what will be interesting, I think, is how England's batsmen get on in the next few months against the Indian bowlers, and whether they'll still be there ready to take on the Ashes challenge, or whether actually their form would have dropped off, or their techniques would be exposed, and they might not be able to go and play in Australia. They might not be selected to play in Australia.
Simon Mann finishing that little section of a TMS podcast previewing 2021. That's available via BBC Sounds, as is our review of 2020, and we've got a new podcast up there today as our series 40 from 40, celebrating 40 years of View from the Boundary continues, and it's an interview from the last time that India toured England back in 2018 with the comedian Nish Kumar when he visited Jonathan Agnew at the Ageas Bowl. So do have a listen to that. That's available today on BBC Sounds. The players are making their way back out to the middle at Carrara, ready for the second innings of this game between the Sydney Thunder and the Melbourne Renegades. I can tell you that some runs have been added. DLS is involved in this game. It's reduced to 17 overs a side, and the target for victory, though they scored 166 for 6 from their 17, the Melbourne Renegades, the DLS target has been revised to 173, so 6 or 5 onto the target, if you like, from where we were. What I haven't quite confirmed is what's happening with the bash boost point, which saw after the 10 over mark that the Melbourne Renegades had hit 79 for 3 from their 10 overs. So, and actually, just as I say that, we have got an update on the bash boost point. They'll need 65 of the first 8 overs, so that has also been revised. So 65 needed from the first 8 overs to claim that 1 bash boost point. There is 1 power surge over to keep an eye on as well once we get past the 10th over mark. So a few little things to keep an eye on these new rules. Of course, when DLS comes in, all gets a little bit more complicated, but we'll guide you through it and make sure you keep across exactly what is happening. Alex Hales and Usman Khawaja are out in the middle to open the batting for the Sydney Thunder. Abhishek Janjanwala is opening the batting alongside me for this second innings, and a revision in the target, 173 off 17 overs. You're going to have to go some.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to go from the very start. The first 4 overs, we know how crucial they're going to be if you want to chase down that mammoth total. And they've got the batting power. They've got Alex Hales, who's got a 71 of 29 in the previous game, and he looked very, very dangerous. And Usman Khawaja, he's been in very good form as well. He's been consistent, though he hasn't got a 50 in this competition so far.
Richardson bowling to the left-handed Khawaja to start things off, and a single work towards backwards square leg. The Thunder won without loss.
It's always been that combination, isn't it, where Usman Khawaja takes his time, he just steadies the ship a little bit, and Alex Hales just goes from the very first ball. He likes to go big. Sometimes it works, and sometimes we've seen him playing some shots which is not required at that point in time, and he loses his wicket. But hopefully tonight again he'll come good for the Thunders as he did in the previous match, and once he gets going, it's bad times for the bowlers, Henry.
It is, as we saw in the last game. 71 from 29 for Alex Hales, powerful English opener. There's a slip waiting as Richardson, looking every bit the stranded traveller on a desert island with a straggly beard, and Hales waiting and actually letting that ball go through, whistling past his hips and through to the keeper. So 1 without loss is the Thunder score. They've won their last 4, the Sydney Thunder, whereas the Renegades, they've lost their last 4. So there's certainly pressure on the winners from 2 years ago, the Melbourne Renegades, to get their tournament back up and running.
It was a good delivery again from Richardson, but the fielding is a bit interesting. They've got a deep square leg and deep mid wicket for Alex Hales, as we know he likes going onside, but all the fielders on the offside are within the 30-yard circle, so there's an opportunity there.
Hales up on his toes, defending down the track. There is, do you know what I mean when I say he looks a little bit as though he might be stranded on a desert island, Richardson? He's got that slight sort of wild beard, and long hair.
I knew exactly what you mean, but so far he's been good. He's bowled 3 very good deliveries, keeping it tight against Alex Hales, who's not after facing 2 deliveries. He's eyeing his spots, looking at the field. He always likes to go big. Somebody who likes hitting boundaries, not a huge fan of taking 1s and 2s.
Hales, 0 from 2 so far. Waiting for Richardson, lofting down the ground. He gets underneath it, he gets all of it as well. 1 bounce, a couple more bounces, and it dribbles into the boundary sponge down the ground. So, as you say, he likes bat on ball, a couple of sighters, and a first boundary for Alex Hales. Down the ground it goes. It's 5 without loss.
Again, a lovely shot, just giving himself a bit of room, trying to open that offside region as all the fielders are inside the 30-yard circle. And then when he played that shot, he was in such good position with his head and just didn't try and overhit it, just held his shape and just timed the ball over that mid-off fielder. Very well played shot by Hales. He's back and running. 4 of 3 deliveries. Pressure back on Richardson. 2 more deliveries to go in this over. He wants to finish well. Doesn't want to go for another boundary in this over.
Hales up on his toes, working the ball behind, square into the offside. They're going to have to be quick. The throw's a wayward one, and they do get through for the single. It is 6 without loss. Hales on 5, Khawaja on 1. Hales is interesting when you see his reaction to scoring boundaries. Some cricketers, when they hit big runs, you can see they're really enjoying it. Hales, his face, his expressions never change, just sort of deadpan.
Yeah, absolutely. He's always got that straight face. It just doesn't matter if he's hitting boundaries or taking singles or he's getting those lusty blows out of the park. Just focuses on the job at hand.
Khawaja on strike as Richardson comes in to conclude the over. It's whipped away through mid-wicket for 4. It's just a little bit short from Richardson, and Khawaja was quickly on the length and smacked it to the boundary. 10 without loss. The target 173 from 17 overs.
But that has always been his strength, the short ball. He loves to cut, he loves to pull Usman Khawaja. That wasn't that short, but just picking it off the length, getting on top of that delivery and placing it beautifully through that mid-wicket area for another boundary. And we often talk about the final delivery of an over. You've got to try and bowl the final delivery well. The moment you go for a boundary in the last ball of your over, it always ends up being a good over for the batting side, and that's exactly what has happened here. They've managed to get 10. That's the required rate they need for the next 16 overs as well. They need 10 and over to win this game, and at the moment both Hales and Khawaja looking good, in good touch.
Yeah, it certainly is. Hales will have so much confidence from that innings at Monaco last time out. And Imad Wasim is going to bowl, as Stefan mentioned, born in Swansea.
Yeah, I was thinking that will they go for a spin from the in the first 4 overs, and Imad Wasim straight away into the action.
Hales waiting deep in the crease and driving through the offside brutally and brilliantly. He gets a boundary immediately, gives himself a bit of space. There was just enough time, it was short enough for him to play that back foot drive and pick up a boundary to start the over.
Just didn't get the execution right there. Imad Wasim going for that arm delivery, just missing his length ever so slightly, a little bit shorter, gave enough time for time to Hales to just rock back onto his back foot and find that gap through the offside. Very good start from Hales again. Not so good from Imad.
Imad swings the arm. Hales again, another shot through the covers, and again another boundary. Little bit short, and Hales was on top of it immediately. 3 boundaries to him already, and back-to-back 4s to start Imad's over. This isn't exactly what the Renegades wanted. It's 18 without loss, and there are only 2 balls into the second over.
Yeah, there's a cat and mouse game going between Hales and Imad. Probably this ball he will focus on getting it a bit fuller. There's an opportunity for Hales to come down the track and go big straight over the bowler's head. We got to wait and watch, but he's definitely going to look it a lot fuller, look to bowl it fuller.
Shorter again, but Hales can't find the gap in the offside this time as it's collected. Crouching down by Sean Marsh, who's wearing the gold cap for the leading run scorer in this year's competition.
If he wants to bowl that length, he's got to bowl very, very straight. He can't give any room outside that off stump to Alex Hales. He's got to be very precise with his line and length.
Imad bowling to Hales, who gets in a bit of a tangle there, and as he tries to work the ball into the leg side, it strikes the pads, and there's no run. Decent recovery, this.
Yeah, we'll have to see that. Does Hales go onside now, because he's bringing the ball into him with the arm.
Hales giving himself some space, lofting it down the ground. Has he got enough for 6? No, a couple of bounces, but it is another 4. He goes inside out over the covers, and Hales is on to 17 from 9. 12 already from the over, 1 ball left.
Yeah, very well played again. That was a lot fuller, so that provided the opportunity for Alex Hales to go aerial. He managed to get under the ball, get that elevation over that infield. As you mentioned, all the fielders on the offside are within that 30-yard circle, so any bat would get you 4 runs there, and that's exactly what Alex Hale did. 3 boundaries in this over so far, 1 more to go.
Hales on strike, going into the leg side this time as he found the gap for 4. There's work for the fielder, but he can't get there. And this time targeting the leg side, Hales gets another boundary. 16 from an expensive Imad Wasim over. And the Thunder 26 without loss after 2. Their target 173 from 17.
Yeah, very good over for the Thunders. Exactly what they wanted. And Alex Hales putting all the pressure back on the bowlers. And very calculated shots here from Alex Hales. First going inside out through the offside, and again in the last delivery, waiting for him to bowl that short length. Ball coming into him, going through that mid-wicket region, picking up yet another boundary. 4 boundaries, 16. Big over, 26 after 2. Thunders, they're looking in course for yet another win here.
Yeah, and they've got batting depth as well, which is something the Renegades just haven't been able to call on. But the form of Mohamed Nabi in that first innings might give them a bit of confidence going forward. Khawaja will face the strike as Richardson prepares to bowl the second over. And he's charging in now. Right arm over to Khawaja, who's feeling for a ball outside the off stump, and it whistles through to the keeper. Dot ball, valuable dot in the context of a very quick start for the Sydney Thunder.
Yeah, Khawaja just not happy with himself. He's thinking any bat there would have picked up another boundary there, just opening the face of the bat, trying to run it through that third man region. Third man being inside the 30-yard circle. There's always an opportunity if you can just dab it towards that gap between the keeper and the third man.
Khawaja waits, open stance the left-hander, bottom edge into the leg side for 1. Get Hales back onto strike. That's not a bad result really for the Thunder, because they want Hales, who's dangerous and aggressive at the top of the order. Quite quickly moved up the ranks of leading run scorers for the Sydney Thunder. He's now 4th in the list, having passed the legendary figure of Michael Hussey in this innings. He's up to 749 runs and an average of 37.4 for the team in green. And his, a crucial element of that, his strike rate is higher than anyone else in that top list at 150.
That's why he's such a dangerous player. If you can hit the ball, if you can strike the ball at 150, you're always going to be an asset for any side around the world. And with an average of 37, it's a very healthy average in T20 cricket. It's going to try and look to put pressure on Richardson now, Alex Hales.
Richardson into Hales. And he pulls away from a big swing into the leg side with the pace taken off the ball. And still, he could have hit a 6 or missed it entirely, as was the case. And no change in expression from Alex Hales, as we see on our monitors in front of me. Actually, in fairness to him, as we do see a replay, there's a little bit of a smirk and a smile as he realised he'd been completely outfoxed by the bowler, who's preparing to bowl once again. He's a class operator, Kane Richardson.
He's a brilliant T20 bowler. He's so good with his variations. He's just a hard bowler to go after.
Running in now, arms pumping to bowl to Alex Hales, who gives himself some space and swats the ball away. Into the leg side it goes. And he'll trot through for 1 more. So he's on to 22 from 12. And the Thunder score is up to 29 without loss. That was a real sitting having a picnic and a fly comes in your face, get away kind of shot, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, it was. He just followed him. He's trying to give himself room to open up that offside, because both the fielders for Alex Hales are outside the 30-yard circle on the onside. A deep square leg and a deep mid-wicket. That's his region, that's where he targets, that's where he likes to go big. But at the moment, Richardson is executing his plans pretty well against Alex Hales.
Yep, 28 without loss is the score. I added 1 to the score. 2 from the over so far. This is the 5th delivery of the 3rd. Khawaja will pick up at least 1 as a fielder has to run round on the leg side. Does a good job in the end, and it is just that single. So Hales to be on strike for the final ball of a good over in recovery from the damage that was wrought during Imad Wasim's first over last time out. 16 coming from it. The score's 29 without loss. The target, just to remind you, has been revised because with the rain that we saw in the first innings, the match reduced to 17 overs a side, and the revised target is 173 from 17 overs. For you fans of the Bash Boost point, 65 off 8 overs is the equation to get that little bonus for the side chasing or defending. Hales on strike, full toss, clipped into the leg side, and a single is taken. 3 overs gone, 30 without loss. Alex Hales 23 from 13 as James Brown started singing I Feel Good. I thought it was the batsman, that sort of scream I thought was a batsman saying no to the second run. It completely threw me. There we go, 17 overs to get 173, 30 without loss. That represents a really good start, hey?
Oh, absolutely. And Aaron Finch is looking a bit worried already, getting the youngster Perry to come into the attack. He looks under a bit of pressure as well, because at the moment he's got to come up there and bowl to Alex Hales, who's looking dangerous again on 23 of 13. Right arm medium fast bowler Mitchell Perry. A great opportunity for him to showcase his talent in such a big platform. BBL, if he does well here, you always have your eyes of the selectors watching you when you're performing at such a big stage, and especially when you're playing with the Australian white ball captain. Aaron Finch had a little word with him before he's going to start the spell. Kane Richardson having a little word with the youngster as well, giving him a bit of confidence. We've got to see what he comes and does, what he produces here. Perry.
20 years old, Mitchell Perry, right arm fast medium bowler, sprinting into bowl to Hales, who's chasing a wide delivery and lofting it away over backward point for 4. Well, he gave himself some room, Hales. It wasn't a wide delivery, it became so when the big step from Hales to the leg side gave him that platform, and it's another boundary.
Putting pressure straight back onto the youngster. No respect shown by Alex Hales. Opening that offside again, giving himself massive room outside the leg stump. With the third man in, I always worry as a bowler, how do you bowl with the third man inside the 30-yard circle, especially within the power play with a new ball, because anything off the bat is always going to fetch you a boundary.
Mitchell Perry in again as Hales lofts over the offside. He guts underneath it and almost is taken. Richardson is the closest man to it, but Perry doesn't quite have the wicket in his first T20 appearance for the Melbourne Renegades. 20 years old, he's been part of the Australian under-19 setup. He played for Cricket Australia 11 against the England Lions last year and got the wicket of Laurie Evans in one of the fixtures at this venue.
Yeah, nearly got Alex Hales out.
That would be a big scalp second ball.
Yeah, very lucky Alex Hales didn't time it.
Bustling in, Hales waiting, swinging. Ooh, welcome to T20 cricket. It's gone high in the air and it's gone for 6. Wow. I mean, it's 12 from the over already, and Hales is showing absolutely zero tolerance for the newcomer.
No mercy for the youngster is brutal from Alex Hales. No respect. Don't want him to settle into the big league. Putting a lot of pressure on the youngster. It's 12 of the first 3 deliveries. Huge. That one from Alex Hales. Massive boundaries in this ground, so it's never easy to clear it with that ease, but when it Alex Hales, it's pretty easy if he gets going.
Yeah, there's a school of thought in amateur sport. If a youngster comes in, makes a debut, maybe give him a little bit of an easy ride.
Absolutely.
Not so the case in Big Bash cricket. Hales waiting again, another meaty crunch off the bat over the offside, and it's another 4. One bounce over the ropes. Hales just gives himself space, and it looks so easy. They are absolutely flying. Hales has 39 from 17. It's 46 without loss, and 20-year-old Mitch Perry at the moment is having a very bad 2021.
As a captain, do you throw them in the deep end at the first time they're playing in sort of a professional cricket in the big league, or do you try and protect them by not giving them an over in the first 4 overs? Get your senior bowlers, get your experienced ones to bowl the first 4 and try and ease them into the league.
16 from the over already. Perry sprinting in short sleeves. Hales waiting, walloping down the ground it goes. It's another 6. And Abhishek puts his head in his hands to my left. Hales is on to 45 from just 18 balls, and the Thunder have 52 without loss after 3.5 overs. They are flying. The ball is flying, and Mitch Perry is having a rough time of it on debut.
You've got to feel a bit bad if it's for the youngster just making his debut, playing first time in the Big Bash, and then bowling to Alex Hales, and he's taking him for the cleaners. 22 of the first 5 deliveries, and putting so much pressure on the youngster, 20-year-old Perry. But it's a lot to learn. It definitely is going to take a lot of positive from this over. He'll learn a lot how to bowl.
How not to bowl.
How not to bowl.
Hales on strike, final ball of the over. It's a full toss in the air. Oh, it's a stunning catch. Wow. at backward point. One of the best catches you'll see all tournament. It is an absolute stunner. It's the worst ball Perry's bowled, and he's got the biggest fish of them all. Alex Hales goes for 45 from 19. We wait to see who it is getting mobbed by the teammates. A huge grin on the face of Mitchell Perry, who takes his first BBL wicket. And what a catch! Wow!
That's a screamer. That's an absolute screamer. Alex Hales absolutely nailed it to that point region. Full toss and then flying to his left. What a catch from Harvey. But that ball was traveling at some pace. Oh,
it's
what
astonishing. You can see the reactions. We see a replay from the Sydney Thunder bench. Just gasps of astonishment that the catch has been taken. Hales goes. 4 overs have been bowled. 22 came from that Perry over. The wicket at the end, though, will make it all feel so much better. 52 for 1. The target 173 from 17. Abhishek, some more from you. And then Stefan will take us through the next little phase of the innings. Look at that replay. What a catch.
That reminds me of John T. Rhodes. To be honest, just diving on his left, both hands. The good thing was the technique was so good. Trying to go with both hands rather than just going with one hand. The bowler is a bit shocked. Perry, though he's happy that he managed to get a wicket, his first wicket in the BBL, he looks a bit shocked as well, because probably that's the worst delivery he bowled in that over. And yet, he got a wicket off Alex Hales. A big blow for the Sydney Thunders. A massive wicket for the Renegades to make any comeback into this game. Still, they've got to 52 of the first 4 overs, losing 1 wicket. Good start here.
The thing that makes that catch, or catches of that nature, look so spectacular is the body shape of the fielder when they hang on. Back arched, hands thrown behind the head, clinging on. Absolutely spectacular. And the look on Mitchell Perry's face, I mean, the emotions he's been through in the past 5 minutes or so. Seeing the ball disappear to all parts, probably thought he was conceding another boundary, and instead Mackenzie Harvey at backward point has flown to his left and clung on to one of the best catches you will ever see. And now it's Callum Ferguson at the crease at the non-striker's end, as Usman Khawaja faces up to the leg spin of Peter Hatzoglu, who's all arms and legs and bowls outside the off stump. Khawaja cuts and misses, and it's almost like calm has descended on Carrara, because Khawaja has only 7 from 6. Hales bludgeoned 45 from 19 out of 52 for 1 in this chase of 173 from only 17 overs for the Thunder to beat the Renegades, as Hatzoglu, all arms and legs, whirs in, and Khawaja gets an outside edge to short third man, and there's no run. The bash boost point is 65 from 8 overs. That's had a little boost as well by DLS, because I think the Renegades had only 62 after 8 overs.
It looks like the Thunders are definitely getting that point. We've got to wait and see if they get the rest of the points of winning the game as well.
Hatzoglu creeps in. He's got such a idiosyncratic run-up and action. Khawaja leading edge down the ground up towards mid-off, single taken. Thunder move on to 53 for 1. Khawaja has 8 from 8. Hatzoglu, such an interesting story. He's played all 5. He's played every one of the Renegades games this season, all 5 of them, taken 7 wickets. But he's been plucked from grade cricket, really. It was only in the summer of 2019 he was playing league cricket in Cheshire for Ashton-on-Mersey. And Abhishek, just after this delivery, I'll let you try and describe his action, because he comes in on an angle, his arms go everywhere, he fizzes the leg break down, and now Callum Ferguson is working off his hip. They think about a second run, but they turn it down. It's Thunder move on to 54 for 1.
I mean, it's an interesting action he's got, but also he's got such a high arm action that is always going to be difficult for batsmen to go after him because of the trajectory he's going to bowl. And then if he can bring a few variations to his bowling, he's going to be a big asset for any T20 side. I like what I see of him so far. is keeping that really good length where it's very hard for the batsman to go under him. Is that in between length where you can't really go on the front foot and you can't really go on the back foot and try and heave him over that mid-wicket area. So far he's been very good. Yes, it's a bit of an awkward action, and also that makes it so much harder for the batsman when you're facing somebody like him.
He's a tall figure. He's got a white towel in the back of his red trousers. Bowls to Khawaja down the leg side. Khawaja misses with a sweep. It's called wide, and the Thunder are on to 54 for 1. When he bowls with such a high arm, Abhishek, have you almost got to play him as though he's bowling top spinners rather than the leg spinners?
Yeah, it's a bit like Anil Kumble, where the ball doesn't turn a lot.
That's Oglu outside Khawaja's off stump. Khawaja reaches, gets nothing on it, but it's just inside the guideline, so it's not called wide. Thunder remain 55 for 1.
Yeah, even that ball, if you see, it just carried on with the angle. It didn't have any turn to it, but it just slid through the from his hands and just carried on with that angle. Makes it difficult.
Last ball of the over. Khawaja pulls this one out towards deep mid-wicket. Fielder runs round to his right. There's plenty of time for the men in lime green to complete the second run. So the Sydney Thunder move on to 57 for 1 after 5 overs. They need 8 more runs from another 3 overs for the Bash boost point. And overall their target is 173 from 17 overs to go top of the Big Bash League.
Yeah, they're looking good so far. To get to that 173, they just need a partnership here between Callum Ferguson and Usman Khawaja, both very, very experienced cricketers, both international cricketers as well. And Callum Ferguson has scored consistently in this year's competition. He's got 3 half centuries, with the highest being 61. And he's only had 1 duck, and apart from that, it's been 54, 61, 31 and 51. So he's been very consistent. And he's somebody who comes into that middle order and steadies everything, calms things down for his side as well. He's not somebody who will come and get you runs at a strike rate of 150. He'll get you runs at 115, 120, but then he's somebody who just bats around others and gets you to that target.
Abhishek, you go and prepare yourself for what we hope is a thrilling conclusion to this game. As Mitch Perry begins his second over, 1 for 22 from his first over. What a shot that is from Callum Ferguson. Driving straight down the ground for 4. It's not all piano moving T20 cricket. Sometimes it can be piano playing as well. Sydney Thunder move on to 61 for 1. So I'm rejoined by Henry Moran.
That's a glorious shot, that, from Ferguson. He's one of those players that you don't put in the category of the big biffers in T20 cricket. He's not one that has smashed it all over the place, but what he does do is consistently score lots and lots of runs.
Mitch Perry, the debutant, he's holding the ball cross seam as he bowls to Ferguson. He turns this one off his hip into the wide open space on the onside for a single. 62 for 1, the Sydney Thunder. 2 deliveries into the 6th over. Perry, he's 20 years old. He's played 2 first-class matches and 1 List A match. He's got a mop of curly hair. Wearing number 16. Next to him at mid-off is the experienced figure of Kane Richardson. I think you were a bit unfair on Kane Richardson before, Henry. I'll return to that point in a moment. As Perry, in the Renegades red, bowls to Khawaja, who under-edges a pull around the corner to long leg. And the Thunder move on to 63 for 1. They just need 2 more runs for the Bash boost point, and they've got 15 deliveries in which to get them. You said Kane Richardson looked like a man who'd been stranded on a desert island with a straggly hair and beard. I think he looks more like a man who could front a stadium rock group. Looks like he's been plucked out of the Kings of Leon.
No.
With the long hair, beard and the sleeve tattoo.
No, behave.
Mitch Perry stomps in to Callum Ferguson, who cuts on the bounce over the point fielder out towards third man. There's a fumble, but they don't attempt the second run, the Sydney Thunder. 64 for 1. I mean, you know more about these sort of things than an axe wielder such as yourself.
I think that if you want that sort of look, you look no further than Jack and Mickey Edwards from the Sydney Sixers. Long blonde hair. There is something very sort of Los Angeles 1982 about them, and I'm all on board for it.
But Henry, it's 2021.
No.
Perry bowls to left-handed Khawaja, just past the dive of the extra cover fielder. It would have been the second world-class catch of the innings. As it is, it's rocketed to the extra cover boundary for 4. Khawaja has 15 for 12. Thunder 68 for 1.
I do wonder if the decision to chuck Perry another over, yes, he'll be full of confidence from taking the wicket of Alex Hales, but he was expensive, and he was expensive because he bowled a few poor deliveries, and with the bash boost point up for grabs and almost secured by the Sydney Thunder, do you think maybe we'll chuck the ball to someone else that might be able to bowl an over that'll go for 6 or 7 just to rein things in a bit?
Bash boost point is secured. Round the wicket comes Perry now to Khawaja. There's a half-hearted appeal for LBW as the ball trickles out towards long leg. Leg bye taken. At the end of 6 overs, the Thunder are 69 for 1, Khawaja 15, Ferguson 7. The Thunder already have 1 point. To get 3 more, they need 173 from 17 overs, this rain-reduced game. The Melbourne Renegades, after being asked to bat, posted 166 for 6. Sean Marsh made 87 from 48 balls. The Thunder target was boosted slightly to 173. They've lost Alex Hales for 45 off 19 balls. Now Usman Khawaja has 15. Callum Ferguson has 7. It's live. Big Bash commentary on BBC Radio 5 Live Sports section, the BBC Sport website and the BBC Sounds app, as Peter Hatzoglu, the leg spinner, begins a new over as Usman Khawaja plays a cut and misses. My name is Stefan Schemmelt. I'm alongside Henry Moran. Tomorrow, 9:15, Brisbane Heat versus Sydney Sixers. Wednesday night, the third test between Australia and India. Hatzoglu, second delivery that Khawaja whips out towards long on. The gold-capped Sean Marsh does the fielding, single taken, 70 for 1. And don't forget, you can download the TMS preview of 2021 podcast. That's Aggers and the team looking ahead to an action-packed new year of cricket. Happy New Year to you, wherever you're listening to us from. It's night time in Queensland. Just a calm has descended over Carrara after the heavy rain shower that we saw a little bit earlier that delayed this game. Now Hatzoglu throws the ball left hand to right in his angled approach into the right-handed Callum Ferguson, who grabs the ball off his hip to square leg for a single. Both of these Thunder batsmen are in lime green kit with dark green pads. 71 for 1. Why can't they get pads to match their lime green kit?
I know, it's annoying, isn't it? It shouldn't be annoying, but it is, because it just all looks a little bit, you know, having grabbed things from the back of the store cupboard.
Hatzoglu, dark hair, the wristy Khawaja flicks a full delivery up to long on for 1 more, 72 for 1. Sean Marsh is there under the gold cap. He's only been able to put the gold cap on today after the 87 he made in the first innings, which makes me wonder, is there a gold cap with every team ready to be dished out just in case someone tops the run scoring lists?
I suppose there is. I'd want to take hold of that and just wear it for fun.
Hatzoglu bowls to Ferguson, chipping down the ground. There's a cry of catch from behind the stumps, but it falls well short of the long-on fielder, the blonde-haired Will Sutherland, who arrows the throw-in. 73 for 1 with 1 delivery of the 7th over remaining. 100 required from 60 balls. Sorry, Henry.
It's particularly awkward in the early stages of the tournament, the sort of gold cap thing, because you find it sort of being chucked around all over the place depending on who's scoring the runs in an innings, and, you know, taken off here, passed to somebody else there.
Hatzoglu creeps in for the final delivery. Khawaja with a flourish like a musketeer clips the ball into the onside for 1 more. So that's pretty tidy stuff from Peter Hatzoglu. Just 5 singles from his over. He's conceded only 10 from 2. Sydney Thunder 74 for 1 after 7 overs. They're well ahead of the DS par, which is 60, but 99 from 99 rather from 60 deliveries. is still a stiff ask to win this game.
It is. A little more on Peter Hatzoglu, who's going to be a new name to listeners of BBL cricket this year, unless perhaps you play in the Cheshire County Cricket League, where he picked up a load of wickets in 2019 playing for Ashton-on-Mersey Cricket Club. Most of his cricketing career, he's just 22 years old, has been part of sort of university touring cricket teams, and yeah, he's just graduated, having been spotted by Cameron White when he was playing in one of these league matches and across Victoria, and he's been thrown in, given this opportunity, the leg spinner, and clearly they've seen enough in him to know that he's got real quality and can offer something. He's from Melbourne. He's a key member of the Renegades bowling attack, and he's one of those players that you just love watching because he's interesting action. It's all sort of limbs all over the place, and he's landing it on the money every time. And perhaps more evidence of the way that the BBL can just provide a springboard to players who maybe don't follow the traditional route.
Well, especially in a series such as this, where so many players have been lost to the international game. Imad Wasim, left arm round the wicket. Usman Khawaja, top edges are cut towards short third man. I think it's the rock star looking Kane Richardson falling there, doing the fielding. 75 for 1, the Thunder. They need 98 more from 59 balls. Remember, the Thunder are second in the table. A win tonight will take them top above the Sydney Sixers. They're already level on points with the Sixers because of the Bash boost point. The Renegades are bottom, looking for only their second victory of the season. Imad Wasim, left arm round the wicket, number 4 on his back, red kit, white boots, throws his left arm out and then bowls to Ferguson, who carefully turns this ball into the onside for a single. 76 for 1, the Sydney Thunder. 97 required from 58 balls. Just bubbling up into an excellent game, this. Thunder came on the back of 4 successive wins. Renegades on the back of 4 successive defeats. In those runs, the Thunder hammered the Renegades on Boxing Day. Bowled them out for 80 after making 209 for 8. Imad Wasim, left arm round to left-handed Khawaja. He's got acres of space on the onside to whip the ball up to long on. One more taken, 77 for 1. We talk about the Sydney Thunder batting lineup. Well, in that huge win over the Renegades on Boxing Day, Ollie Davis, who's due in next, made 48, including 5 straight sixes. Looking forward to seeing him bat. Callum Ferguson leans over his bat, waits for Imad Wasim. So bunts into the onside. They want 2, the Thunder, because it's well placed between 2 fielders, but Will Sutherland's very quickly in from the long on boundary, preventing the second run. So 4 singles so far off the over, 78 for 1. The Thunder haven't found the boundary in the last 10 balls. Khawaja 20 from 19, Ferguson from 11. Carrara, the stadium, sparsely populated, but that's not stopping the DJ from having some fun. He still played his tunes from New Year's Eve. Imad Wasim bowls to Khawaja down the leg side. Khawaja misses a pull shot, looks at the umpire who wants a wide. The umpire obliges. 79 for 1 with 2 deliveries of the 8th over remaining. Imad Wasim, very careful approach. Outside the off stump. Khawaja with a flourish. Up to extra cover. Captain Aaron Finch does the fielding. It's just one more. 80 for 1. Binary cricket from the Thunder at the moment. Ones and dots. 80 for 1. 93 from 55 required. Imad Wasim, left arm round, hits Ferguson on the pad. That's very close. It's given. Back leg. Umpire no choice. Ferguson, that ball just scurried onto him. He went onto the back foot. Was expecting turn. Got none. Straight on with the arm. Hit him around about the knee roll. Dead in front. Middle and off. The Sydney Thunder captain has to go for 11. And the Thunder are 80 for 2. And the Renegades are banging this game, chasing their second Big Bash win of the 2021 season.
Rare failure for Callum Ferguson. Over the course of the last 5 matches, he's only been in just single figures the once. That was a duck against the Heat. Otherwise, scores of 54, 61 not out, 31 and half century, 51 against the Stars last time out. He has been the rock upon which the more expressive players perhaps can build their innings. So to lose him at this point, 8 overs gone with the score 80 for 2, well, that could just open the door for the Renegades.
I said it would be Ollie Davison next. It's actually Sam Billings, the second England international in this Sydney Thunder lineup. 8 overs gone, so almost halfway through the chase, the Sydney Thunder. They need 173 for victory and to go top of the Big Bash League. They're 80 for 2. Usman Khawaja 21 off 20, just being joined by Sam Billings. And Henry Moran is about to be joined by Abhishek Junjunwala.
Thank you very much indeed, Stefan. Yes, Abhishek back with us as we see this game head towards what I think is going to be a really interesting conclusion. 10.33 required per over. We know that the Thunder have already secured the Bash boost point. They've only got 1 power surge over to take after the 10th over. So there's going to be less opportunity perhaps for the big hitting players to play their shots. 10 and over is, you know, whatever way you look at it, that takes some getting, Abhishek.
Well, absolutely, but the way the modern day cricket is going, with 8 wickets in hand, there's a great opportunity for them to do that, especially with 1 power surge over. And we saw the amount of runs the Renegades could accumulate at the fag end of the innings. So if they can have a partnership here, there's a great opportunity for Sam Billings, again playing his second match of this year's competition. If he can get going, a huge opportunity for him also to get a decent knock here.
Billings playing his second match. He had a long quarantine period and made his Thunder debut in the last game, but he's at the non-striker's end as we wait for Nabi for the first time today. Off spin round the wicket, bowling short to Khawaja, who's chopping out to deep cover for 1. So Billings will get the strike and join the action with a target of 173 from 17 overs. We're into the 9th and the score is 81 for 2. Billings has played BBL cricket for the Sydney Sixers, now finds himself in the lime green of the Sydney Thunder. In the last match he played, he made just 6 against the Stars. Understandably easing his way into it. You know, a long time in a hotel room with only a treadmill for company. Nabi continuing round the wicket to bowl to Billings, who's just cautiously working the ball to short fine leg for a single. He's up and running, and it is 82 for 2. And you know, it isn't easy to get going immediately, is it? No,
it's never easy, especially as you mentioned, if you're coming out of a quarantine where you've been confined in a very small space, and you had to stay there for 14 days. Never easy. So he'll take his time. Great opportunity for him tonight.
Nabi to Khawaja, cries of catch as it spoons up off the leading edge. Can someone get underneath it? No, it'll drop short of the fielders running in from mid-on and mid-off, converging upon the ball, swooping towards it. But no one could get there. And Khawaja gets a little bit lucky and gets 2 runs, 84 for 2.
Yeah, I think Nabi's 3 or 4 overs will be the game-changing scenario for the Renegades. How he bowls, can he get into his groove? Can he bowl those tight overs where he doesn't get hit for 6 or 7, more than 6 or 7? So they got to bat really sensibly against somebody like Nabi. He's very experienced, done it all over the world.
Nabi moving into bowl to Khawaja. Reverse sweep, beautifully played. He's going to pick up a boundary. A gasp of appreciation from the crowd as Khawaja picks up 4 runs. Nabi stands, hands on hips, and knows he's been beaten by a brilliant cricket shot.
Yeah, it was a good ball. If you bowl a good delivery and the batsman plays a better shot against that good delivery, you don't have much to do. You just got to stand there and admire. And that's probably what he's doing. But that puts a lot of pressure back on the bowler as well, because now he's got to come up with a plan B. Because a good line delivery against a left-hand batsman, but Khawaja, he's in such good form, just managed to reverse sweep it over that point fielder. Very good shot. That'll put a lot of pressure on Nabi.
85 needed from 50. Next ball is worked into the offside for 1. And deep cover runs in and throws. So 88 for 2, 2 balls, or 89 for 2 I should say, 1 ball left for the 9th over. Prior to that boundary, the win predictor had the Renegades as favourite 57%. It's probably just swinging a little more even now. We've seen some more runs scored. It's pretty tight.
It is pretty tight, and swings pretty much every ball.
Well, Billings on strike, reverse sweep from him. He won't find the boundary this time though, because there is a fielder waiting to collect right on the boundary, and another single for Billings as the score advances, and the end of the 9th over comes with a total of 90 for 2, 83 needed from 48 deliveries. They've got wickets in hand, 8 wickets in hand, the Thunder, but it's close, this.
They've got wickets in hand, and also they've got a lot of experience, a lot of firepower, which the Renegades were missing. They've got the likes of Sams still to come in. They've got Ben Cutting, so there's a lot of depth in their batting, and especially with Khwaja being set on 29 of 24 with all the experience as well, I'm sure he would want to bat till the end, try and guide his team to the win, yet another win. That'll be the 5th if they can manage to get another win here. But for the Renegades, it's very important that they turn things around, they shift the momentum. They've lost the last 4. They want to start the new year in a better way.
Billings on 2, waits for Imad, who's bowling. Leaning forward is Sam Billings and clipping the ball out to deep mid-wicket for 1. Billings on to 3 singles from 3 deliveries, 91 for 2, 82 needed from 47 balls.
Yeah, we've got to wait and watch if he plays the reverse sweep again. That's become such a regular shot now in T20 cricket, isn't it? And it brings such a different dimension to the game as well. A lot to think for the bowler if a player is good at reverse sweeping.
Khwaja on 29, launching into the leg side. Has he got enough for 6? Has he got enough for 4? Yes, he's got enough for 4, because Harvey can't get there. For a moment it looked like it might be going the distance, then the fielder was interested, but eventually a little bit of fade on the ball and it spears to the ropes. So 4 runs from the bat of Usman Khwaja, 95 for 2 is the score, with another 78 needed from 46.
Yeah, he's putting the pressure back on the bowling side and picking the gaps really well. Usman Khwaja knew exactly where he wanted to hit that ball. Even though it was aerial, it was still in the gap. No chance for the fielder.
Imad bowling to Khwaja. Oh, he does play the reverse sweep, and it's nearly taken by the man at short third man, which became short fine leg. It's Riley Russo diving to his left, who gets close but not quite close enough. It fired away quickly. It was really well played. Risky shot to an extent, but he gets full reward for taking that chance.
Yeah, absolutely, and good execution at the end, you've got to say. He hit it with some power. To reverse sweep the ball at that pace, never easy, but again, it's just so hard for the bowler to bowl. Once you got hit, he slog swept him to that square leg region for 4, and next delivery he reverse sweeped him. Very good cricket from Khwaja.
Imad bowling to Khwaja, back-to-back boundaries, but this won't be more than a couple as Billings calls through for the second, and they get back as well. It's been expensive stuff from Imad Wasim. He's conceded 33 runs. He's taken 1 wicket but conceded 33 in his 2.4 overs so far. The 100's up for the Thunder, 101 for 2.
And that's just experience, isn't it, Henry? Hitting 2 boundaries, then just placing it beautifully between that mid-wicket and square leg fielder. An easy 2. 11 so far, 2 more balls to go.
Imad bowling to Khwaja, clipped off his pads into the leg side, pushing hard for the first. It'll only be that 1 run though. Billings on strike for the final ball of the over, 102 for 2.
Huge boundaries on the onside, very hard to get a 6 unless you get it absolutely right. We've seen it in the previous innings as well, a couple of players getting caught in mid-wicket region. They tried to go for that big 6, didn't get enough. Huge boundaries, but Usman Khwaja has been very, very careful of that, been very sensible as well, not looking to go for a 6, just trying to time it enough to get a boundary.
Imad bowling to Billings, a cry of spin from Harper behind the stumps, maybe more in gamesmanship than actuality. We've seen 10 overs gone, 102 for 2 is the score. The equation for victory is 71 runs from 42 balls with 8 wickets in hand. We've got some news for you coming in terms of the England tour to Sri Lanka, and that news is that the England squad have all tested negative for COVID-19 and are scheduled to fly to Sri Lanka tomorrow. They're due to play 2 tests in Galle starting in 2 weeks' time on January the 14th. So good news from the England camp that they are due to fly out to Sri Lanka tomorrow. And 102 for 2 in this game. And an interesting contest in front of us. Hatzoglu is going to bowl his third over. I love watching this guy bowl.
And England does fly to India straight from Sri Lanka, doesn't it, after the 2 tests, or do they come back and then go? Because they start in the first week of February in India.
I presume so. I can't say for sure. I wouldn't like to mislead you, Abhishek. I would think that would seem logical.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Just an hour flight from Sri Lanka to India.
That depends where in it. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
but yeah,
like if you're going to Chennai, it's like a very short flight from Sri Lanka. But at the moment, Thunders are sitting quite pretty. If I had to pick a side here, I would definitely pick Thunders, just because Khwaja is batting beautifully on 40. Billings getting into his groove with so much firepower to come in later half of the innings. 10 and over from here with 8 wickets in hand. Looks pretty easy.
Hatzoglu, leg spinner into Khawaja, hitting the ball firmly into the offside. There is protection at deep cover. Fielder runs round and collects. And Khawaja will get back for 2. Khawaja on to 42. 69 needed from 41. They could do with a wicket here.
Absolutely. The only way they can get back into this game is by picking up wickets. Aaron Finch looking a bit worried. Khwaja, how consistent has he been in the last 4 games? 21, 34, 37 and 42 tonight. Hatzoglu
to Khawaja, cries of catch. It's in the air. It's going to drop 5 or 6 yards short of Sutherland at long off, and they'll get one more. 68 from 40 is the equation. Billings will be on strike on 3.
Looking for his first half century. Khwaja searching for it. He's batted 5 times so far in this year's competition, yet to get his first half century. Great opportunity for him. 43 of 30. Going at a very good strike rate as well tonight, Usman Khwaja.
Thunder have won their last 4, looking for 5 in a row as Billings comes down the pitch and plays it aerially just past the outstretched hand of the bowler. And I wonder actually if the presence of Khawaja at the non-striker's end has just slightly put him off, as it wasn't too far from the hands of the bowler. It was close, but not perhaps quite as close as it looked on first viewing.
Yeah, he needed Nathan Lyon there. He doesn't miss any of his cotton bowl chances. He's taken some phenomenal catch over the years, hasn't he? When it comes to cotton bowls, he's brilliant. But there was a clear opportunity there for Hatzoglu.
Khawaja's on 43, driven down the ground for 1. As far as Finch, who throws in the sling of his left arm. And the score, 107 for 2, 66 needed from 38. There's a DLS par score that gives us a bit of a guide of where we are in this run chase. That stands at 96. This game reduced to 17 overs aside because of rain during the first innings. It's 107 for 2. Billings on strike on 4 as Hatzoglu is into him. He tries a reverse sweep. He gets it round the corner. Is it going to be 4? It is. Beautifully played from Sam Billings. He had to get it exactly right. There's a fielder at short third man and another at deep cover. He managed to bisect them both. And Hatzoglu looks at Billings and says, well, fair enough, that was a good shot.
That was a lovely shot. It's all about the length. It's all about picking the length. As we all know, reverse sweep and sweep, both is a length shot. It doesn't matter what line the ball is. As long as you can pick the length early, you can execute the shot well, and that's exactly what Billings did on that occasion. Picking up a crucial boundary. They need a boundary and over, and it should be fairly easy for the Thunders to win it from here, as long as they can do that. And they're picking up boundary pretty much every over. They've already got 9 of this over. Another boundary, end up being 13 or even 15. Probably that's what Billing is going to eye for.
Well, 10.5 overs gone. And we've got a gentleman striding to the middle, all in black, carrying a rather sinister looking plastic black case, which he's opened up to reveal a load of half-used cricket balls, and they're looking for one of the same age that can replace the one that's been clobbered about by Billings and Khawaja. And he marches off once again in his black umpire's uniform and black baseball cap. As we see on the big screen, Aaron Finch with plenty of thinking to do, because this is a run of form that has been bleak to say the least. This will be 5 defeats in a row if they lose this one.
It's very hard to come back from there. We've seen teams do that in franchise cricket, bounce back after 5 losses.
Mumbai
it's
Indians
never,
tend to
they do
it.
it all the time. That's the trend.
Yeah. Hatzoglu bowling to Billings, who's going for the reverse sweep again. Doesn't get all of that one, will get just the 1 run. So he'll keep the strike at the start of the 12th. And the score moves on to 112 for 2. The target, 61 from 36 deliveries, the required rate. Standing around about 10 runs and over. Khawaja has 44, Billings on 9. And Hatzoglu's bowled 3 overs, none for 20. That's the equation for you, with the Renegades taking on the Sydney Thunder. And you can see there's still obviously a lot of moisture on that outfield, because Aaron Finch is using this towel every single delivery to dry the ball, just get as much moisture out of it as is possible.
And probably that's the reason the spinners are finding it really, really difficult to get hold of that ball properly, not being able to spin it or get any pressures off the surface. Pretty much every spinner has gone around 10 and over, but apart from Hatzoglu, who still bowled really well, 3 overs for 20. In the context of the game, that's a pretty good spell so far. But now it's Sutherland bowling his first over.
Well, he's trying to, but something has delayed things. He started the approach, but Aaron Finch has said he wants to have a shuffling round of the field. We've got deep point moving around to third man, and then a conventional point inside the circle moving across as well. Sutherland moving to Billings. It's outside the off stump, driven away. That was there to be punished, and he didn't do it. Goes only as far as Richardson at mid-off. It's a dot ball. They need a few more of those. 61 needed from 35.
Yeah, looking at the shot, you feel like he's trying to reach the ball. You often say to the batsman, try and let the ball come to you rather than trying to reach for it. Probably that's the reason he played it in the air as well. And that could just be his rustiness, not being able to practice for during the quarantine period. It takes a bit of time to get things going, to get into that groove.
Sutherland charging in again. Oh, is that a catch behind? Well, the bowler's keen. Harper behind the stumps has less interest, and Billings looks as innocent as is possible. There's a smile on his face, as if to say, I was nowhere near it. We'll look at the replay. It wasn't a million miles away from it, but I don't think there was cause for real appeal necessarily. There's no DRS anyway, so once the umpire said no, that was it.
It's a bit surprising that there is no DRS in the BBL, though they have made so many new innovations. They're trying new things, which is always great for the game. Always brings new element, always brings something more to think for the players.
Billings on 9 as Sutherland is into him. It's going to be a single but nothing more. So 2 dots and a single to start the over is a pretty good return. And if the Renegades, and while we sort of look at this and think 60 from 33 with 8 wickets in hand, yeah, this is very doable for the Thunder. An over where only maybe 3 or 4 come from each suddenly swings this game really into the hands of the Renegades.
Yeah, absolutely, and what that does is, once you bowl an over where you've just gone for 2 or 3, the next over you have an opportunity of picking up a couple of wickets, because the batsmen are more desperate to play those big shots. The required rate goes up ever so slightly. So if they can produce a couple of overs here where they give not more than 5 or 6 an over, that'll put a lot of pressure.
Khawaja trying to release a bit of that pressure, launching down the ground for a 1 bounce 4, just a foot or so inside the ropes. But it is a boundary for Khawaja to take him to the cusp of a 50, his first it would be of this year's BBL. He's on to 48 from 32.
It seemed like, I thought if there's a mid-on, there's an opportunity, but clearly the mid-on fielder was inside the 30-yard circle, and the ball had a lot of hang time, but because there was no fielder there at the deep, picked up an easy boundary. Very good shot from Khawaja. 48. 2 more runs to get his first 50 of this year's BBL.
56 needed from 32, make that 56 needed from 31. As a short ball is chased by Usman Khawaja and flies through to the keeper.
It's still very doable, 11 and over with 8 wickets in hand, with Khawaja set in the crease. Billings 10 of 10. He's getting into his groove as well, and a boundary or 2. Things will start going on for him as well. But at the moment, Sutherland has bowled a very good over so far. Yet there's 1 more ball to go. How often have we seen the last ball going for a boundary, Henry?
Quite. Sutherland bowling to Khawaja, beaten. Good ball to finish the over, right on a length. and flashing past the outside edge and through to the keeper. So 12 gone, 117 for 2, 56 needed from 30 balls. Abhishek, a few more thoughts from you, and Stefan Schemmelt will take us through to the close.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult one here. If they can produce another over where they go for 4 or 5, it's going to be a tough one for the Thunders, even though they have the resources, but it's going to be a lot of pressure on them. But so far the match is quite nicely poised here, Stefan. Any team can win it from this position.
Yeah, it just feels like one good over this way and that sways the momentum.
Yeah.
Wonderfully poised. Sydney Thunder 117 for 2. They need 56 more from 30 deliveries to defeat the Melbourne Renegades on a damp evening. Ah dear, this is not what we wanted to see. The covers are coming on for the second time. Rain has stopped playing Carrara, just as it did earlier on during the Melbourne Renegades innings. That's what caused this game to be shortened to 17 overs aside. Aaron Finch, the Renegades captain, in his red kit, is wandering off, looking to the sky. I was just trying to find out what the DLS situation is.
Steph, I'm still here, and I can tell you, if you like, they're ahead of it. They're 7 runs ahead of it, the Thunder. So that is all we see. They are ahead of things. That stands at 110 after 12 overs, and with 117 for 2 on the board. If this game is done and this rain prevents any more play, it'll be another victory for the Sydney Thunder.
Yeah, Aaron Finch looks a bit worried, having a little chat with the umpire, it seems, and the teammates. They wouldn't want the match to stop. They would want to continue. They would want to come back after this rain break. But at the moment, the rain is coming pretty heavy, so we got to wait and watch. The covers are coming out. It's always frustrating, especially when the bowling team has just bowled a very good over. They've only gone for 5. The momentum is shifting a little bit towards them, and suddenly the rain comes again, and it just gets a bit difficult.
There's 2 ways of looking at this, Steph, as well, out in the middle. The ground staff are currently covering the pitch that we're using today with a small sheet of tarpaulin, but they're also covering some other stuff to the right of that, suggesting perhaps that they're either thinking this shower is not going to last long and we'll be back on shortly, or let's start protecting the other pitches we're going to need in the subsequent weeks because this one might be done. It depends which way you look at it.
Yeah, you'd think that it's not a great deal of time for them to complete this game if they're off for any sort of length of delay. Aaron Finch is lingering on the outfield. He's just talking to television. He's got the fluffy black microphone just attached to the collar of his shirt. So the Renegades captain is lingering. I'm not surprised he wants to stay out there because his team, like you said, Henry, is behind on DLS. So that would be a 5th defeat from 6 games from the Renegades. Perhaps Finch is pulling the old trick whereby you stay standing on the outfield to let the umpires know it's not that wet. Why can't we get back out there and play?
Yeah, probably that's the reason he looks a bit frustrated as well here, Aaron Finch. If the rain isn't heavy, he probably didn't fancy coming in. He wanted to carry on. But because there is a break now, it just gives the batting side to think a bit more about it. They can plan it better. They just bowled a very good over as well, Renegades. So probably that's the reason even more they didn't want to come in. But at the end of the day, when the rain comes, it's umpire's call, they decide. So we got to wait and watch. But it doesn't look that the rain is that heavy because Aaron Finch is still waiting outside on the ground.
Well, it often depends in this situation what team benefits from the rain being deemed light enough or stopping so that they can get back out there. I remember during the T20 World Cup at the start of 2020 in Sydney, the Australian women's side, of course, such pressure on them to get through to the final. They were playing a semi-final against South Africa that was badly rain affected. It was the same day England got knocked out because the rain prevented their match against India. And the entire Australian team were training in what can only be described as quite heavy rain on the outfield, as almost as if to say, it's fine, get on with it, let's get out here. And Aaron Finch standing on the boundary edge half expect him to sort of take his shirt off and, put on some sun cream to suggest that, they need to get out there. Because at the moment, if we don't see any more play, that's it. The Renegades will suffer a 5th straight defeat. So you can understand why he might be feeling a little bit of pressure to get on with it.
Absolutely. He wants to get out there and try and give themselves an opportunity to make a comeback and to win a game after 4 straight defeats. But for that, they'll need to go out there. And probably that's the reason Aaron Finch will put a bit more pressure on the umpire to get things going and try and get out there and play cricket.
Well, Steph, still we wait. Still no news. And still the players, quite encouragingly. I mean, you're good at reading this body language, Steph. And what do you make from the players still hovering around on the edge of the field? Do you think we're going to see more play?
I think one thing to note, I think the Melbourne Renegades have got to be in Perth in 2 days' time to play the Scorchers. And I think 2 days after that, they are in Adelaide, I think, to play the Strikers. They are crisscrossing Australia in the next 5 days. And I'm sure it would have been built into the fact that, any sort of late finish, they might not even be flying to Perth until tomorrow. But it's a pretty brutal schedule. They're waiting around for a rain delay and a late finish tonight. I mean, it looks bleak in Carrara. You've got people wearing those see-through ponchos that you see at theme parks when they ride the log flume or at a ride where you get wet. And it looks like a pretty miserable way to bring in the new year on the Gold Coast, with spectators huddling under their ponchos as the rain falls pretty heavily. And although the Sydney, the Thunder players had sort of waited around the edge of their dugout, Daniel Sams, the big figure of Daniel Sams, was down there with his pads on, ready to go. They probably won't be too keen to get back out there, the Thunder, because they know if they don't get back out there, they've won.
So they'll be putting up the brollies shortly, you'd have thought. But yeah, just looking at some of those supporters in the crowd wearing those ponchos, you've got to admire their commitment, because for 5 overs more of Big Bash cricket, they are desperate to get their money's worth. Well, it won't be 5 overs more, it'll be less than that if we see any more play.
And you can see now, I think the rain's falling heavier than it did earlier on. When you look into sort of a dark area to see the rain coming down, and that's a really heavy shower. In that part of the world, it's pretty tropical, and when it rains, it doesn't mess about, it properly rains.
Yeah, this isn't mizzle, drizzle, this is solid, fat clumps of rain falling down.
I don't think Aaron Finch is pretty happy at the moment, but if it thunders, they wouldn't want to come out. As you mentioned, that if there's no more cricket, Thunders wins it because they're ahead by 7 runs. They need 110, they're on 117. So they are sitting pretty at the moment, Henry.
Yeah, well, they can just enjoy watching the rain and sort of do a little rain dance and say, well, we're happy as can be. Daniel Sams is still padded up, but I'm not sure those pads are going to be used. Yeah, I mean, we can see from the scenes out there that it is pretty bleak, and every minute that goes past is another minute towards eating into the time that perhaps could be used to get this game back on. Of course, you've got not only the rain stopping, but how long it takes for the ground staff to clear things up, and it didn't take that long earlier for the guys out in the middle to get things ready. But it has the feeling, sometimes you get that feeling, don't you? It has that sense perhaps that this one might be done. We've been surprised before though, and there could yet be more cricket. But let's run through what we've seen so far, shall we? We've witnessed the Melbourne Renegades in a rain-interrupted innings hitting 166 for 6, with Sean Marsh top scoring with 87. Mohamed Nabi hit a quick-fire 33 in there as well. In the wicket-taking column, 3 wickets for Nathan McAndrew back in the side. For the Sydney Thunder, well, Alex Hales again excelled, 45 from 19 balls before the end of an extraordinary over bowled by the youngster Mitch Perry. On debut, he conceded 22 runs, and then the final ball, a filthy full toss, which Hales slapped to backward point, and a brilliant catch from Harvey to dismiss him. So Perry had, I think, all of the emotions possible on debut in that first over, but did get the wicket of Hales. Ferguson went LBW to Imad Wasim for 11, and Usman Khawaja has 48, Sam Billings has 10. Those are the 2 not-out batsmen, and at 117 for 2, they're 10 ahead of the Duckworth-Lewis par score. In theory, they need 56 more to win from 30 balls, but that's not going to be the case because the rain's falling, time's being eaten out of the game, and we wait to see how these figures are going to be worked out and concluded in terms of the end of this match. As a cricketer, Abhishek, this sort of things, it's frustrating, isn't it? You're sort of sitting around doing nothing and...
Yeah, absolutely. It's very frustrating, and you don't know what's going to happen, if the rain's going to stop or you're going to play any more cricket. And especially if you're padded up and you're batting, you're out in the middle, it's even more frustrating because, you lost a bit of momentum and now you're just waiting there thinking what's going to happen. And it's just not the right feeling. But they look pretty relaxed at the moment, the Thunder's dugout, and are they all shaking hands? Has it been announced that it's been called off?
Steph, what do you know?
I was just trying to go through the lengthy playing conditions, and I think we're already beyond the cut-off time of when this game should have finished.
Okay.
And as Abhishek says, the Sydney Thunder players are bumping fists. They look like a team that know they've won this game. They're shaking hands with the umpires. The rain is absolutely teeming down, and I think it's pretty safe to say that we'll see no more cricket and that the Sydney Thunder have won this game. Looks
that way, doesn't it? The crowd that have remained in are starting to drift away. A few are huddled, actually, underneath the stands, trying to keep away from the showers as we hear a bit of Creedence Clearwater Revival booming around the Metricon Stadium. And it's not often that you see a rain-affected match in the Big Bash League, but when it is rain-affected, Stefan, you're right, it is a fairly filthy and aggressive rain that comes down and tends to create some significant delays. Right, I'm getting out the way, and I'll let you two wrap up what we've seen today.
Seems like a long time ago now that the Sydney Thunder won the toss and asked the Melbourne Renegades to bat. That innings was interrupted by rain, so it meant that it was cut to 17 overs. Sean Marsh, the mainstay of the Renegades, 166 for 6, 87 from 48 deliveries. That made him the leading run scorer in the tournament. Mohamed Nabi took a little while to get going, 33 from 24, including 3 sixes. Not much from anyone else. That total of 166 was given a little boost by DLS. It meant the Sydney Thunder needed 173 from 17 overs to win this game. They reached 117 for 2 after 12 when the rain came again. In that time, they secured the bash boost point by reaching 65, well inside the 8 overs allotted time they had. Usman Khawaja, 48 not out. Alex Hales, once again in the runs, 45 from only 19, 7 fours and 2 sixes. Callum Ferguson, 11, and Sam Billings, 10 not out. The bowling figures: Kane Richardson, 2 overs, no wicket for 14. Imad Wasim, 1 for 34 from his 3, the left arm spinner. Mitchell Perry, the 20-year-old on T20 debut, 1 for 33. He got Hales thanks to a brilliant catch by Mackenzie Harvey at backward point. Peter Hatzoglu, no wicket for 20 runs from his 3. Mohamed Nabi and Will Sutherland, 1 over apiece. Abhishek Jhunjhunwala play for 3 teams in the Indian Premier League. Can the Melbourne Renegades, have they been slightly harshly treated by the rain tonight? It stalled their momentum with the bat, and yes, they came out and were able to score quickly on their return, but also it just felt like they were getting a bit of a handle on the Thunder run chase. It looked like they'd slow things up when the rain came again, but the Thunder were still 7 runs ahead of the DLS par score. Have the Renegades been slightly hard done to by the weather tonight, or are the Thunder good value for their victory?
No, I think yes, they are a bit hard done because of the rain. I'm not saying that they would have won, because the match was very evenly poised and any team could have won, but they had a good opportunity to make a comeback, especially after that over where they only gave 5 runs, and then straight after that the rain came down. So Aaron Finch definitely a bit disappointed, because if the game has gone through until the 17th over, the results could have been either ways. But as we mentioned, you've got to give a lot of credit to Thunders, the way they came out there and they played their cricket. They were always ahead of the runs in terms of Duckworth Lewitt. They got that extra point at the end of the 8th over where they needed 65. They were way ahead of that curve as well. So overall, you've got to say that Thunders have batted really well. But yes, you feel like if the match went till the 17th over, Melbourne Renegades definitely had a chance to make a comeback.
Sydney Thunder go top of the table, Abhishek. They've won 5 of their 6 games. They take all 4 points from tonight, which means they're 3 ahead of Sydney Sixers. They look well equipped, don't they? They look like all 1 to 11, everyone is playing a part. Batting lineup looks powerful, good pace bowling options, good spin bowling options. They certainly look like they're well worth their place at the top of the table.
Oh, absolutely. It looks like a very balanced side, and as we talk about the whole team, all 11 are contributing. It's not just 3 or 4 people contributing. And if you talk about their batting, it looks a very, very set batting order. They're all experienced cricketers, and at the end of the day, they're all performing as well. It's not just about having your resources in a side. It's at the end of the day, you got to make full use of those resources, and I think Callum Ferguson is doing pretty well. The bowlers have come out there and did the job as well. Whenever they were under pressure, they delivered as well. So I think as a team, they're doing really well, and it's a very balanced side.
You talk about a team being balanced. The Renegades propping up the table. They've now lost 5 of their 6 games. And yet you look at their side, Sean Marsh is the leading run scorer. They've got a couple of other big names, but they need contributions 1 to 11, like the Thunder are getting. However, you know from your time in the IPL, in these long T20 tournaments, they've still got 8 games to play. There's time for them to turn things around, isn't there?
Oh, there's always time, as long as you've not lost too many. But as I said, it's difficult. It's not going to be easy, because as we often talk about the momentum in T20 cricket, they've lost 5 on the trot. For them to qualify in the top 4, they need to win at least 7 games from 6 games from here. So they've got to start winning straight away from the next game if possible. And they've got to have a good run where they win 4 or 5 on the trot to give themselves any chance to qualify. So yeah, it's not an end road for them, but they've got to do something really, really well. They've got to do well to making a comeback in this tournament.
Thank you, Abhishek. That was the voice of Abhishek Junjunwala. You've also heard from Henry Moran today. I am Stefan Schemmelt. It's been Big Bash commentary on BBC Radio 5 Live, Sports Extra, the BBC Sport website and the BBC Sounds app. The Sydney Thunder go top of the table with a 7-run victory over the Melbourne Renegades on the DLS method. Tomorrow, 9:15 in the morning, so that's an hour later than usual, you can hear commentary of Brisbane Heat versus Sydney Sixers. Don't forget, Wednesday night, the 3rd test, Australia versus India. Coverage starts at 11:30 on Radio 5 Live, Sports Extra. And all the time between now and then, you can download the Test Match Special Preview of 2021 podcast. Jonathan Agnew and the team looking ahead to the next 12 months. But for now, from us, it's goodbye and Happy New Year.
The FA Cup 3rd round is here.
A sublime goal!
Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you like this. Enjoy it. The match was 10 and Sydney winner 1 was 7-1. That's the Lewis method. Warder is not out, then Billings are not out. This full card, Booty. Nathan McKenzie takes 2 wickets.
Union, tennis, football. Wigan with a cross on the left. Goal! It's Will Drake. It hasn't all been roses so far. How are you finding it? I mean, getting you involved's a great move.
Look, Michael's a terrific player, a terrific coach, and was a terrific player. And you remember how he played? He's very much the same way how he coaches. He's very organised, meticulous in his preparation, very respectful and a lot of care for the players. But certainly got an edge to him. And I know he's been pretty pensive since last game. He wants to get some wins on the board, not just for himself, but obviously for the team. And look, he spoke very clearly. He basically talked to the group about Pickers breaking the season up for another 9 games in 3 groups of 3. And if we can try and, win 2/3 of each of those little third periods, and then we're a chance to be in the mix. So broke it down for us, made it simple. And that's probably how Maxie played his cricket. Kept it very, very simple, but very organised and very prepared. So, look, he's doing a terrific job, but I'd love to get a win for him tonight, and so will the team.
And, Helmo, just lastly, the rules and some of the changes this year, it looks like a few teams have taken a little while to work it out and see what's going to work best for them with subs and with the 10-over point that's available and that sort of stuff. Do you feel like you've got a handle on it now?
Oh, we've got a handle on it. We just haven't delivered on it. We've been actually quite poor. Let's face it. The 2 times we had to chase down a significant total, we got it wrong, and we've identified that. And we've probably had to put the what's it called, the halfway mark bonus point. We probably had to put that out of our mind a bit because we're probably over focusing on that, especially when we're going for those large totals. We know teams can chase down big scores. You can get 12 or 13 off the last 10 to 12 overs. So just set the foundation, play it simply. Sometimes that surge can actually confuse teams and end up going crazy and losing wickets. So it's about having 2 experienced guys or 2 guys in who are going okay, then pulling the trigger, but don't overplay it. Bowlers can still bowl good balls in those power play overs. So probably for us, it's about keeping it more simple, not complicating it.
I'll tell you what, it was funny. That same night that we got the Renegades were bowled out for 80, chasing 209, I had a look. We were 4 for 53, and we ended up being 4 for 59. The Stars on the same night were 4 for 49 and made 190. So it can happen. You get a partnership together later in the innings.
Yeah, and we saw at this venue, Pickers, Pooran and Maxwell go absolutely berserk, and then the Sixers go and do the same thing. They did exactly the same thing and chased it down in an unbelievable game. So we know at this venue, it's a bit like the Gabba, really, the thickness of the grass and the surrounds here. If you can get some wickets early with some bounce and carry and swing. So that from a bowling point of view, that's what you're after, get as many wickets as possible. And then from a batting point of view, just hold on tight. You get a good foundation. We know that we've got players in the shed, as most teams do, that can really capitalise at the middle to back end.
Helmo, thanks for joining us. Good luck. Hopefully tonight's the night that it all turns around for you.
Good on you guys. See you.
Thanks for watching, guys. I will end this stream. So thank you, guys. We will be back soon for next BBL match. Okay. Bye bye. Please like and subscribe for the next streaming.